One when a high-dimensional will turn 9 billion humans into fantasy lords. Rich kids drew powerful attack talents and beasts, while he, a poor orphan, got great a talent everyone mocked called Impregnable Fortress. When he refused to bow down, a rich bully named Wang Ho vowed to flatten his territory. What they missed was that his defenses cost half the resources and half the time, growing stronger every single time his lord mansion leveled up, while they raised one arrow tower he raised two until his walls grew so thick that Wang Ho's wolf cavalry shattered right against them. The orphan they expected to submit became the wall that arrogant bully broke himself on. Seriously, hit subscribe and leave a quick like to help support the channel, but none of this happened overnight. It all started the day things shattered. Then a cold, vast voice tears through his mind and his eyes snap wide open. The announcement rolls over him like a massive wave from somewhere higher than the heavens, declaring that a high-dimensional entity has descended, starting the era of global lords, and that all 9.1 billion humans on Blue Star are being teleported. He barely has any time to process those words before the world completely rearranges itself. The familiar classroom of his senior year at Gang First High School is gone, and in its place lies a boundless green expanse of grass under an open sky. A crude wooden shack stands alone behind him, and in front, 10 men and women in rough linen wait with dazed eyes, staring at him as if he should somehow know what comes next. Is this some kind of weird transmigration? Before he can even process this, the grand voice returns, welcoming him to this strange continent and announcing that everyone here will become a lord with their own territory and subjects. The goal, survive and grow stronger. Suddenly, the lord system activates inside him, loading his initial territory, a level 1 mansion and 10 peasants, along with his only starting resource, a single white recruitment token. Then it announces it will soon extract his exclusive starting talent, ranging randomly from E to S, and it wishes him good luck, which feels pretty sarcastic. Suddenly, a massive golden roulette wheel spins right before him, light flickering wildly across its surface, slowing down until a beam of golden light shoots out and pours into the space between his eyes. The system congratulates him on drawing a rare grade A talent called Impregnable Fortress. Inside his land, the system says all defensive buildings cost half the resources and half the normal construction time. The difficulty of unlocking advanced defense systems drops sharply, while the damage, range, and durability of his structures grows stronger as his mansion levels up. A grade A talent. His heart stirs since grades range from E to S. This places him near the very top. The strangest part is how perfectly this fits him, having grown up in an orphanage. He is cautious to the bone, always mapping out the worst case scenario before taking a single step forward. He never believed he could command armies or scheme across a battlefield like some brilliant general, but digging in, building high walls, and playing a steady, defensive style. Steady grinding path that suits him perfectly. The ultimate defense is the sharpest offense, he tells himself. He has never been happier with this. With the hand he is dealt, Imam turns to the 10 bewildered peasants, introducing himself as their lord. Imam. The instant the words leave his mouth, they bow and greet him. The confusion drains. Absolute loyalty rises to replace. It's so absolute that they look ready to throw up their arms and weep with joy. He nods and opens the lord panel to see what he is working with. It is clean and spare, split into territory, construction, recruitment, and channel. He opens recruitment first, where his lone white recruitment order sits waiting, capable of randomly summoning between 1 and 10 troops from Tier 1 to Tier 3. He uses it without hesitation. A white light flashes and 8 militia appear, gripping wooden spears and wearing crude leather armor. The system lists their stats. Tier 1 troops at level 1, each with health 55, mana 40, strength 10, stamina 11, agility 7, spirit 8, intelligence 8. With 0 skills, basic fodder. The system description even calls them completely useless. Not bad, he thinks, keeping his head steady. They might only be Tier 1, but at least there are several of them. He orders the 8 to split into pairs and patrol the territory, and they immediately move out to Bay. Next, he sends the 10 peasants to gather every single scrap of wood and stone they can find. They take the order and work hard, throwing themselves into the labor, watching his territory begin to take shape. Imam opens the last tab, the channel. It splits into world and Private chat, complete chaos. The world channel is already exploding with messages. Flying by every single second, far too fast for human eyes to follow. The entire feed is a total mess. Imagine 9 billion terrified people dumping panic and disbelief all at once. One person screams they were yanked here mid-toilet. Another cries for their mother. Someone is bragging that a grade B beast affinity talent gave them a giant pet wolf, demanding everyone kneel. Another guy is shouting that a grade B is absolute trash because their brother drew a grade A. A mom leaves the noise behind and switches to the area channel. The system alerts him that he is in a newbie zone, meaning this channel only reaches lords in his immediate area. There are fewer people here, but it is just as loud. Scanning the feed, he keeps spotting familiar names. He realizes the division of these zones must track where they lived before the teleportation. Almost every single person here is from Guang City, and quite a few are old schoolmates. Suddenly, a bold red message flashes across the screen, an area announcement from a lord named Wang Ho, ordering everyone to listen. He introduces himself as a senior from Gang First High School, boasting that he drew the grade A talent Berserk Charge. He brags his initial recruitment gave him 5 Tier 3 Wolf Cavalry and proclaims that his strength completely crushes everyone. Imam narrows his eyes. Wang Ho, of course. The arrogant, rich second-generation kid from his grade who acted like a petty tyrant every single day using his family's wealth. Turns out, bad people have a disgusting amount of luck. Berserk Charge sounds like a brutal early game offensive talent, and paired with Wolf Cavalry, it is genuinely a massive cheat code for this newbie stage. The area channel boils over the second his announcement lands, with his high school lackeys instantly fawning. One named Zhang Wei claims they are old classmates and begs for protection, while others they swear to follow Ho Hyung wherever his grade A talent and Wolf Cavalry lead him. Watching these familiar faces grovel, he almost laughs. Even in another world, the same fools play the same parts. Wang Ho clearly loves being the center of it. He posts again, declaring that those who know how the world works are the heroes, announcing the founding of the Heavenly Wolf Alliance, ordering every lord in the area to join and submit to his unified command, insisting that unity is the only way to survive this hellhole. Then he draws the line. Those who join, he protects. Those who refuse become enemies of the entire Heavenly Wolf Alliance, and the moment he develops, the first thing he will do is flatten them. The threat carries an ugly, unquestioning weight. Most people fold at once and pledge themselves in the channel, because in a world this strange, grabbing onto the thickest leg they can see is basic instinct. A few stay silent, then he starts reading the silent list, and within seconds he calls him out by name, demanding to know why he is saying nothing, asking if he is mute. The sudden attention surprises him. He barely ever spoke to Wang Ho in school, and the only reason he knows him at all is that his name sat in the top 3 of the grade. Most of the time, people like him reserve their sharpest hatred for those who are better than them and quieter about it. Right on cue, Zhang Wei sneers that he is a clueless nerd, and a girl named Zhou Riri adds that he is just an orphan who kept to himself, probably scared out of his mind. He reads the cold mockery without expression. He has no interest in answering, but Wang Ho has no intention of letting it drop. He demands one final time whether he is joining the Heavenly Wolf Alliance, and orders him to give a clear answer. He thinks for a moment, then types one slow line. He replies that on the global lord stage, each lord rises by his own ability. No insults, no argument, just a flat statement of fact. But in Wang Ho's eyes, it reads as the most direct provocation possible, and the entire area channel goes silent. No one expected the quiet top student to be the first to publicly defy him. A few seconds later, his fury scrolls out. He spits back a sarcastic good, each by his own ability, and tells him he has guts. Then comes the promise he should wait, because he will find him, and the first thing he does once he is ready will be to lead his troops to his territory and teach him how to spell the word death. After that, he goes quiet, plainly livid, and the others rush in to offer their condolences, betting he has studied himself stupid, calling him dead meat, mourning a top student about to vanish over a grade A talent. He closed the noisy channel without a flicker of fear. Was he afraid? A little, but not much. Wang Ho was right that his talent and that absurdly lucky pack of Tier 3 troops are powerful in the early game, but he overlooked the one thing that matters most. The endless continent is enormous, and even inside a single Newbie area, the distance between territories is beyond imagining. Finding him on that vast map would be like searching for a needle in a haystack. And the thing he needs most right now is time. He looks at his bustling territory, where the 10 peasants have already piled up a respectable heap of wood and stone. And he opens the construction list, his eyes landing on the most basic defensive building there is. The wooden arrow tower normally costs 400 wood and 200 stone and takes 8 hours to build, but under his talent, the numbers fold in. Half before his eyes, 200 wood, 100 stone, 4 hours, for the same resources. While everyone else builds one, he builds two, in that exact same span of time. While everyone else builds one, he still builds two. He thinks of Wang Ho, hoping that by the time he arrives, his walls are already thick enough. He does not hesitate. He selects the wooden arrow tower from the build panel, and when it asks whether he wants to spend 200 wood and 100 stone over 4 hours, he confirms the construction with a single thought. The two nearest peasants drop what they are doing. They jog to an open patch behind the Lord's mansion, quickly pulling a blueprint. From their robes, they begin marking the ground. A phantom image of the tower rises out of thin air. They hammer and saw at the projection. While a progress bar ticks down in his vision toward the 4-hour mark, he wanders over to the peasants hauling resources to watch them work. They are full of energy, but their actual efficiency is pathetic. They have no decent tools, chopping trees with stone axes and carrying stones in their bare arms. Technology is the first productive force, he thinks, and he clearly needs a way to lift there. Gathering speed, defense towers alone will not carry him either, because even the most skilled cook cannot make a meal without rice, and no matter how strong the towers are, they cannot be raised out of nothing. He is still turning the tool problem over when a militiaman on sentry duty comes pounding up, gasping for breath, reporting that something has been spotted to the east. He tells him to slow down and explain. The soldier says they found a group of green-skinned monsters in a small grove about a kilometer to the east, gathered around what looks like a chest. Green-skinned monsters and a chest. Talk about hitting the early game jackpot. He immediately asks how many there are and what they look like, and the guard tells him 5 or 6, very short, carrying crude wooden clubs, sneaky with it. 2 scouts too wary to get close. 5 or 6 does not sound like much. He glances at his 8 militia, then at the tower rising noisily in the distance, and orders all the militia to assemble and follow him, leaving the territories temporary security to the peasants. He leads the 8 east, moving carefully. After a stretch of thin grassland, the grove comes into view. He ducks behind a wide tree and peers out carefully. In a clearing, 6 monsters taller than his chest, crowd around a battered wooden chest, jabbering and squabbling as if arguing over how to split the loot. Their skin is emerald, their ears pointed. The system reads them out as goblins, tier 1 level 1, health 35, weak across the board, a description naming them low creatures with poor brains who love shiny things and bully the weak while fearing the strong. Starter mobs, exactly as he guessed. His militia are also tier 1. But their attributes run higher. There are 8 of them against 6, and he is standing behind them to command. 8 against 6, the advantage is his. The only real question is how to micromanage this to keep his losses near 0. He studies the terrain and whispers the plan. 4 flanking left, 4 staying with him on the right, both wings to charge at once on his signal. The militia move into place, clumsy but obedient, and once both teams are set, he swings his hand down hard and orders the charge. The 8 roar to steady their own nerves and slam into the goblins from both sides, while the little pests are still mid-shriek. The goblins, who clearly never expected humans to walk in, dissolve into shrieking chaos. They raise their clubs, but their formation is already shattered, completely useless. His militia might have combat skills that round to 0, but their loyalty is maxed, their morale high, and they fear nothing. 8 against 6 does the rest as a spear punches through a goblin chest, spraying dark green blood everywhere as the fight peaks. He does not throw himself into the melee. His job is to command, not kill. So he stays back to keep the line organized, directing one man to stab a flank and ordering another 2 paces right, under his direction. Their attacks tighten and efficiency jumps. In under 3 minutes, all of the goblins lie in pools of blood. On his side, only 1 militiaman took a club to the arm, minor scratch. The system congratulates him on his troops' first victory, granting some experience before showing that one militiaman fought bravely enough to hit level 2. killing monsters grants. Levels, he checks the leveled soldier, finding his strength and agility up by 1. A pleasant little surprise, he walks quickly to the battered chest. But instead of opening it, he orders a quick sweep of the surroundings. To make sure no threats remain, only then does he open it. There is no golden glow inside, just a simple pile of resources and some yellow parchment. The system grants him 1,000 wood, 500 stone, 50 iron, and a gray blueprint for a logging axe. Trust me, this is huge. That much wood and stone is more than 10 peasants could ever gather. In a full day of backbreaking labor, it is all his now, instantly. The blueprint is the real prize here. Each logging axe takes only 10 wood and 5 iron to craft, boosting wood gathering by a whole third. It is like someone handing him a pillow the moment he grows sleepy. He was just worrying about gathering speed, and this is a total lifesaver. Better yet, the 50 iron ore is exactly enough to craft 10 axes. 1 for each peasant. Move out. Everyone heads back to the territory. They return loaded with spoils. Inside, he opens up his crafting panel to make the 10 axes, consuming 100 wood and 50 iron ore. Before reporting completion, 10 worn-looking axes appear on the ground outside the mansion almost instantly. He calls his 10 peasants over to distribute the tools, and they eagerly snatch up the brand-new axes. Their faces light up with joy, endlessly praising their benevolent lord. He honestly has no idea why they praise him for working them like dogs. But if it makes them work harder, he is not about to complain. Soon the wood count climbs incredibly fast, just like that. Watching everything flourish, he nods in satisfaction, since they have resources now. He orders 2 more arrow towers built, 1 west and 1 south. Having 3 defensive towers rising at once puts him in an excellent mood. With nothing urgent to do, he opens the chat channel to see what everyone is up to. It is still noisy, but a solemn dread has settled. Someone's territory has a wild boar 10 peasants cannot even scratch, and they are. Most lords have absolutely no plan, watching their weak tier 1 units get snatched by wolves. Others are scouting in sheer terror, dreading the approaching night because they missed out on Wang Ho's incredibly lucky draw. Instead, they got basic tier 1 soldiers, sometimes only 1 or 2. As the hours slip away, the brutal dangers of this endless continent begin to show. They are ready to bite, yet that massive show-off Wang Ho keeps bragging at the center of attention. But then, out of nowhere, a blood-red warning flashes in their minds like thunder. The first trial of the 7-day newbie grace period, the Crimson Moon, starts tonight. After midnight, all wild beasts go berserk, their aggression heavily boosted. With their abilities heavily buffed, small monster tides will target every lord's territory. They will assault the lord's mansion from random directions. A voice warns them to prepare, promising that anyone who survives the night will walk away with massive rewards. But anyone who fails will be obliterated. That word strikes with a heavy chill. It freezes the blood in their veins, silencing the entire world before the chat channels explode again. Instantly, the world channel turns into an avalanche of pure terror from desperate players who do not even own a basic wooden fence. They have absolutely no clue how to survive, and panic spreads like wildfire. The local regional channel is even worse, filled with screams of hopeless lords with absolutely zero troops. Some are desperately begging Wang Ho to protect them for a price. They will offer anything. Wang Ho goes dead silent, clearly shaken by the news, before finally posting again, with a forced calm trying to hide his smugness. He tells everyone to chill out, claiming that if the sky falls, he will protect them. To him, it is just a joke. His 5 tier 3 wolf cavalry can easily handle the waves. None of his alliance members have anything to worry about. Then he turns the target toward our main character, mockingly wishing him good luck. He says he hopes his bones are as tough as his mouth before the monsters chew him to pieces. He is just using him as a prop to boost his own fame. Right on cue, his toxic lackeys join in, laughing that he is probably wetting himself for offending their mighty boss, even promising to visit his tombstone tomorrow. He reads all of their taunts with a perfectly calm expression. Sure, there is some tension, but mostly relief. The power of his rank talent is finally showing, and his 3 arrow towers are almost finished. He checks his panel and finds the buildings have almost cleaned him out of resources. Only a few hundred wood and stone remain. He immediately orders his hardworking peasants to speed up their work. The territory needs every scrap. He then opens his build screen. Brand new blueprint waits. A standard wooden wall normally costs 20 wood and 10 minutes per meter, but with his insane talent, it cuts down to 10 wood and 5 minutes instead. Arrow towers guard specific points, but walls cover wide areas, only by merging both do you get a real defensive line. Honestly, racing against time is a nightmare. He watches the resource numbers, and progress bars crawl upward at a snail's pace. Doing the math in his head, a few towers and basic walls just do not feel safe enough. When darkness falls, losing line of sight will be a massive issue. If beasts sneak through the pitch black, his towers will be completely blind. He opens the build menu, scanning through everything his level 1 mansion is allowed to build. Finally, a previously ignored structure catches his eye. It is an illumination lighthouse that can light up the night, costing him 300 wood, 150 stone, and 1 white crystal. It takes 8 hours. He has absolutely no clue what that crystal even is. He searches his resource bar, finding only wood and stone. His iron was already spent on those basic axes. His talent for advanced defensive structures must be working here, since other lords probably cannot even see this blueprint. While he can look right at it, but he still lacks that one material that actually matters. Time is tight, too tight to send his peasants out searching slowly, so the only option left is the regional chat, hoping someone got lucky at the very start. He pulls the chat open. The initial panic has faded into a quiet, desperate hum. Occasionally, a truly helpless post pops up, like someone whose loyal peasants were just slaughtered by a wild wolf, or someone groveling to join the Heavenly Wolf Alliance. But Wang Ho remains completely silent, clearly enjoying their desperation. He has no time to waste, so he drops a massive offer to buy 1 white crystal at a crazy price, 400 wood and 200 stone. DM me to trade, he writes. It drops like a depth charge. The chat channel explodes. Nobody can believe those numbers, demanding to know who he is and his secret source. Asking if he somehow logged an entire forest already. One guy even yells that he has to be a major player. Another points out to Wang Ho that this newcomer looks even wealthier than him. That is exactly the kind of message that makes Wang Ho's eyes burn with envy, but he keeps quiet, clearly reading it with no way to reply. Just moments ago, he was mocking him as the first to die. Now here he is throwing around enough wealth to make everyone green with envy. Then, a direct message pops up. A girl named Sumu hesitantly asks if he actually wants to trade 400 wood and 200 stone for 1 white crystal. He remembers her, a quiet girl from school. He quickly confirms the deal and asks if she has it. She does. Her talent is a C-rank lucky blessing, giving her 1 daily buff and a tiny chance for an extra rare item. When she activated it at the start, it dropped a white crystal she never understood, a true luck specialist, proving even low tiers can spit out miracles. He tells her they should trade immediately, but she gets too scared. She admits she is too terrified of the wild monsters outside to leave. He reassures her that trading is a system feature, with no physical meeting required, and instructs her to place the white crystal on the secure trading platform set to exchange. For 400 wood and 200 stone, he will finalize it. She is shocked. It is so simple and promises to do it instantly. Seconds later, the notification pops up. Lord Sumu has listed 1 rare white crystal for 400 wood and 200 stone. He clicks accept immediately. The materials vanish from his storage, and a fist-sized, glowing white crystal lands directly in his secure inventory. The instant the deal closes, she sends a thrilled message to believe she actually received the materials, thanking him as the ultimate big shot in Beyond, saying she can finally build her arrow tower and hopefully survive the night. He replies that they each got what they needed, closes the chat, and moves on. Then, the construction of the illumination lighthouse begins. When the system asks him for these materials, his passive talent kicks in, slashing the stone cost and building time. He confirms the order. Instantly, 2 peasants drop their heavy logging axes, sprint to the clear ground directly in front of the massive lord mansion to raise the blueprint. A massive, phantom lighthouse begins rising slowly from the dark earth. Clanging work echoes. 4 hours is plenty of time. With the lighting solved, his chest loosens up a bit. Time ticks away minute by minute. In the chat, cries for help slowly fade to dead silence. Everyone knows the truth by now. Distant water cannot save you from a nearby fire. No chance. In this cruel survival game, you only have yourself. Now, 2 notifications announce the west and south arrow towers are finished. Now 3 towers stand in a triangle around the unfinished lighthouse at the center. He sits on the ground and picks at some wild fruit. The Militia gathered. He is absolutely starving with nothing but a handful of unknown berries nearby. He had a peasant test eat a few earlier with no ill effects. Food is the ultimate fuel, and he cannot starve before the tide arrives nor fight on an empty stomach or expect his militia to. Then, the final notification pops up. The illumination lighthouse is complete. A 10-meter tower of wood and stone stands dead center in the territory. He orders it active. The white crystal at its peak flares. A soft, clear beam shoots into the sky and unfurls like an opening umbrella, washing nearly 200 meters of ground and making it as bright as day. And standing inside the glow, he feels a faint, almost imperceptible warmth. And just like that, the darkness vanishes. His territory takes shape. 3 stand in their triangle, guarding the Lord's mansion at the center. A ring of freshly raised wooden walls, crude and far from sturdy, at least gives him barrier and a buffer. 8 militiamen line up behind the walls with their spears staring into the far darkness. Meanwhile, 10 peasants hide inside the Lord's mansion, trembling as they peer through cracks in the door. He takes the roof of the Lord's mansion, the spot with the best view, where he can see every inch the lighthouse touches, and the bottomless dark crouching just past its edge. Now the final countdown begins, as cold numbers appear in everyone's sight. And when the last of them falls, the crimson moon descends. A blood-red moon hangs high, bathing the earth in an eerie red light. In the dark, the roars of beasts and shrieks of monsters rise and fall, thick with frenzy and bloodlust. Then a warning flashes that a small monster tide has been detected. Approaching from the east, he looks east at once. At the edge of the lighthouse's reach, small green heads push out of the dark. Their builds are close to the goblins from before, but their eyes are blood-red, saliva dripping from their mouths, and sharp stones are lashed to their clubs. The system names them frenzied goblins, tier 1 with sharpened stats. They possess a skill called Frenzy, which spikes their will to attack during the crimson moon and lets them ignore pain. The description calls them cannon fodder that has completely lost its mind. About 35 times the last batch. For an unlucky lord, this number would be a disaster, but for him, hardly a problem. The frenzied goblins spot the lit territory, loose a wave of ear-splitting shrieks, and charge forward on their short legs, straight into the firing range of the towers. The east tower fires first. Its phantom archer hauls the bowstring to the limit. An arrow flashes through the air, driving clean into the eye socket of the lead goblin. A sharp damage number floats up. The goblin drops head first before it can even scream, twitches twice, and goes still. An instant kill, and his eyes light up. The base damage of a wooden arrow tower is not high, but the third effect of Impregnable Fortress is active. The tower's damage, range, and durability all carry an extra 10% increase. As the Lord's mansion levels up, the mansion is only level 1, yet the boost is already substantial. Then all 3 towers fire together. The arrows act as a reaper's scythe, harvesting goblins row by row. The survivors trample their own dead in a frenzy, charging on regardless. The first wave reaches the walls, pounding them with clubs. Dull thuds roll across the field. System reports his wooden wall taking durability damage. A few points here, few there, but a glance at the bar shows it is healthy. He orders the militia to prepare calmly, telling them to fire at will and prioritize any goblin trying to climb the wall. They have been itching for it, thrusting their spears through the gaps the instant the order lands. One goblin mid-swing is skewered, dark green blood splashing the wall. The fight turns into a simple, efficient slaughter. The towers snipe at range, while the militia clean up anything that closes. The line holds solid. Not one goblin makes it across. He has enough leisure to open the area chat channel, and boy, the panic in there is on another level. Wails and pleas, monsters from the east, peasants killed, militia dead. Fence pushed down, the beasts are already inside, people begging anyone to save them, screaming for Wang Ho. Amid the misery, his arrogant face finally reappears, calling everyone useless trash for failing to stop 30 goblins. He brags that his 5 wolf cavalry killed half in a single charge and have dealt with the rest, telling them this is what strength looks like, that only by following him do they survive. In his territory, the 5 wolf cavalry do stand domineeringly in a field of goblin corpses, but 3 of their health bars are not full. Tier 3 or not, high mobility and attack power or not, they melee units, and a head-on charge into fearless, frenzied goblins inevitably draws blood. But of course, Wang Ho just has to open his big mouth, asking if his turtle shell is still holding, wondering if the monsters have smashed it yet, telling him to warn him in advance if he dies so he can light some incense. His lackeys jump in to claim he is hiding under a table, asking what he plans to block them with. His head, he does not bother replying. The fight on his side is already nearly over. The last goblin drops from a tower's arrow onto the pile of its dead, and the battlefield falls silent, nothing but wind across the grass. He checks the clock from the first goblin to the last. The whole thing took under 4 minutes, his territory completely unscathed, his 8 militiamen barely sweating, having only poked a few stragglers that wandered too close. The system congratulates him on resisting the first wave, hands his troops experience, and announces level ups, 5 of the 8 militia reaching level 2 with slightly raised attributes. Then the grand voice rolls across the whole endless continent again, announcing the first wave ended and settlement underway. Based on each lord's performance, the standard being monster tide clearance. Speed and a golden leaderboard blooms before every set of eyes. His name sits at the very top, first place with a clearance under 4 minutes. Second is Wang Ho, nearly a minute slower. Below him, a lord named Li Baiwu holds third. A lord named Henry ranks fourth, and far down at 35th sits Sumu, who barely scraped through. The regional chat channel goes dead silent for 10 seconds. Everyone is staring at the name on top. Imbam takes first. How is he faster than Wang Ho, who started with 5 tier 3 wolf cavalry? Honestly, it is absolute chaos as people are convinced their eyes lie, certain he cheated, insisting the system made a mistake because there is no way he beat Ho Yang. No one is more shocked than Wang Ho himself, staring at the screen, clenching his fists. His eyes go red, and he accuses him of cheating, demanding to know his tricks. He cannot accept it. With a grade of talent and 5 tier 3 units, it was a god tier start. He was passed by a bookworm he saw as an ant. It clearly feels worse than dying. Imbam ignores his clamor because a far better moment has finally arrived. The system distributes the rewards, congratulating him on first place. Blue resource chest, a random building blueprint chest, and a green recruitment edict appear, 3 golden lights flashing as the items settle into storage. He opens the blue chest first, 3,000 wood, 1,500 stone, 200 iron and gold coins. Enough to push his defenses up a whole tier, and a new resource on top, gold coins, plainly high grade. He is rich. Next, the blueprint chest gives him a farmhouse, which on completion grants 5 peasants for 500 wood and 200 stone. Over 8 hours, another perfectly timed gift. Then he turns to the last and most mysterious reward, a palm-sized green token marked with 2 words of ancient script: recruitment. It is a green recruitment edict of rare quality, which randomly summons a green quality hero to serve him. The description reminds him that 1,000 soldiers are easy to find, but a single general is hard to come by. Heroes are the foundation of dominance, a hero. And his breath quickens. Truly, this is completely different from a standard recruitment order. Orders summon mindless soldiers, but this calls a unique hero with actual wisdom and the potential to grow, a being whose value easily outstrips an entire army. He never imagined the first knight's trial would pay out something this incredibly precious. While he studies the rewards, the channel's chatter about him hits a fever pitch. Wang Ho's roars tangle with everyone's doubt and a few people's genuine shock. Sumo sends a private message calling him absolutely amazing, telling him her single arrow tower and fodder barely killed the monsters before they reached her mansion, and she cannot imagine how he took first place untouched. He smiles and does not answer. He glances at the scattered corpses across his land when the system offers 10 minutes of cleanup to recycle materials. He quickly confirms, better than nothing. That done, he turns back to the green recruitment edict to see if his grade of talent bends his luck. Moonlight still covers the earth, but his territory has gone quiet again. Under his command, the peasants clear the field with care, dragging goblin corpses away and gathering the weapons. Clubs for firewood, with the system recovering a handful of wood and stone. His gaze settles on the soft green glow of the token, a hero, something priceless. They have minds that can think and grow on their own, shaping the entire territory. Without another second of hesitation, he uses it, hoping for someone reliable. The token dissolves into a brilliant stream of glowing green light. The light rises and coils in the open ground before his mansion, condensing into an incredibly complex, ancient runic circle, and as the glow fades, a figure forms right At its center, slowly sharpening into clear focus, it is a young woman, maybe 20, wearing a plain gray-white hemp robe heavily trimmed with animal skins and feathers. Her jet-black hair is tied loosely with a simple bone hairpin. A wooden staff rests in her hand, crowned with a cyan stone. Her figure is exceptionally well-balanced, her skin a healthy wheat color, her features are pleasant, and her eyes are clear and calm, showing just a touch of weariness toward this incredibly strange new place she has woken into. Seeing him on the mansion steps, she freezes a moment, then steps forward, gently lays a hand over her chest, and bows deeply, announcing that Snow Song has answered his summons. He welcomes her by name, feeling quite satisfied. She perfectly suits his taste, being no muscle-bound brute, and she carries herself with a quiet calm he likes. He opens her panel at once. The system reads her as the hero Snow Song, a green tier level 1 unit. Her strength and constitution are below a normal militiaman, but her spirit and intelligence are far ahead, a textbook magic hero with 45 health and 70 mana. Her talent is Wolf's Whisper, a green talent that grants every single wolf-type unit under his command a 10% boost to all attributes. Her first skill is Summon Wild Wolf, costing 20 mana to call a tier 1 wild wolf that fights until it dies on a 1-day cooldown. Her second skill is Ice Thorn, costing 5 mana to shoot a sharp spike that scales with her spirit and slows the target. The system description calls her an apprentice shaman from the northern wastes, who can speak in a basic way with the souls of beasts. Great stats. This unique talent makes his eyes light up. Wango's talent is Berserk Charge, and his troops are Wolf Cavalry, and now a hero who buffs wolves lands right on his side. Honestly, that synergy is just perfect. He does not own a single wolf yet, but the potential is enormous. He orders her to summon a wild wolf so he can see it. Raising her staff, she chants a few short, obscure syllables. Her cyan stone glows faintly, opening a small summoning circle on the ground. A gray wild wolf, barely bigger than an ordinary dog, crawls out with a low, rough howl, shaking its fur and rubbing itself affectionately against her calf. He checks its stats. Tier 1, level 1, squishier even than a militia, but with high agility. Its only skill is Bite. The description calls it an excellent scout and perfect cannon fodder. It is not built for a stand-up fight, but a pro at scouting and harassment. Plus, Snow Song's summon refreshes daily, meaning as long as she lives, he gets a free piece of fodder every day. And if the fighting stays light, these wolves will survive and stack into a small pack. Combined with her talent, it is marvelous. He tells her she did well. He is more than pleased with his first hero. With a hero in his ranks, his spirits run high. He checks the resource panel. His wealth is suddenly substantial after those first place rewards. No staying idle. He opens his construction list, finding the farmhouse blueprint, and immediately builds it. The loud clang and hammer of construction rolls through his territory once more. The night passes without further trouble. The crimson moon fades while the very first dawnlight pierces the deep dark, opening a brand new day. For the vast majority of lords, their first night on this endless continent was a total nightmare of blood and tears. In the area chat, after a night of absolute silence, messages slowly trickle back. One survivor weeps, shocked that they are somehow still alive. Another, with 8 of 10 peasants dead and a half-wrecked territory, has no clue how to keep playing. Another asks how many of them are even left. Soon, people notice the chat population has dropped by nearly a fifth compared to yesterday, which means 1 in 5 lords was wiped out overnight, and the sheer cruelty of it sends a shiver down every survivor's spine. Wango's messages return in the same arrogant tone, calling the night a mere appetizer. He says anyone who failed that simple test deserved to die, and orders his Heavenly Wolf Alliance to check in and report their losses. Dozens of them quickly reply, relief and gratitude tangled together, with Jang weary whimpering about the scary goblins, but Wango tells them there is nothing to fear if they follow him. Then he targets the young lord again, asking if he is still alive, mocking whether the goblins have picked his bones clean. Still bitter about being beaten in the rankings, his needling starts early. First thing in the morning, the young lord yawns, ignoring it completely. He is up on the mansion roof, planning out the day. Overnight construction finished 5 farmhouses, and 25 new peasants stand respectfully before them, awaiting orders. That makes 35 peasants in all now, meaning another massive boost to gathering and construction speeds. He splits them 15 onto stone, 20 onto wood. The day's goal is to ring the entire territory in wooden walls. They take the order and set off full of energy. Defense Alone is never enough. He needs to push out, scout the land, and find new resource points, so he summons Snow Song to form an exploration squad with her and 3 militia. He takes a fairly intact goblin skin from storage, left over from the cleanup, and uses a piece of charcoal to draw a circle for his mansion, then a larger circle around it, ordering them to explore north, south, east, and west out to 5 kilometers. He makes it clear their mission is not to fight, but to scout. Turning serious, he orders them to record everything: terrain, water sources, monster dens, and resource nodes, drawing it all on the skin. Above all, he stresses safety. First, they can try handling a single Tier 1 monster, but if there are more than 2 or anything that looks dangerous, they must retreat immediately, with no lingering in a fight. They understand. Snow Song bows and leads the wolf and the militia carefully out, vanishing. For the young lord, walls are just not enough. Defense needs layers. His eyes lock on a new build, the hunting trap, costing 2 iron ore each. It deals minor damage to whatever steps on it and cripples its movement speed, working beautifully with arrow towers and walls. It is a perfect match, and the 200 iron ore from last night's reward comes in handy. He orders 100 built to lay in a ring outside the walls. Just wait, Wango, he thinks, hoping the arrogant lord enjoys the deadly gift being prepared for him. The territory hums with work, and thanks to his talent, 100 fresh hunting traps come together quickly with minimal iron. The peasants lay them in layers in the grass outside the walls, sparse on the outer ring but denser closer in, aimed precisely at the tower's blind spots. Any enemy charging in is going to get a top tier leg massage. Watching this new defensive line, his sense of security takes up another notch. Just then, Snow Song's voice echoes from behind. The exploration team is ready to move out, led by her and flanked by 3 militiamen. She looks visibly sturdier since reaching level 2. He praises her, handing over marked goblin skin while reminding her she is the scout, not a frontline fighter, and that safety always comes first. Without wasting a single word, she takes the map and slips into the eastern woods with her team. He turns his focus back to development since population is productivity, and with 35 peasants working at once, his territory easily outpaces yesterday by far. With wood and stone reserves climbing visibly, feeling at ease, he opens the area channel to see what others are up to and slack off a bit. The survivors seem to have shaken off their initial terror and are busy arguing about how to develop. Wang Ho preaches that speed is king, bragging that his wolf cavalry already scouted a 5-kilometer radius and found a small iron mine, sneering at the idiot still chopping wood. His lackeys are gushing over him, finding a vein, while everyone else frets over scraps. Past the usual flatterers, some interesting new faces appear. A lord named Ban So Yan is spamming the channel selling food. Fresh roasted wild rabbit at 5 units, a portion costs 50 wood or 25 stone. Plenty is in stock, her gourmet talent giving the food a slight recovery effect. This message draws an immediate crowd since most people are still chewing on wild fruit, making a cooked meal an absolute luxury. Another lord, I am high, complains that her prices are way too steep. 1 rabbit costs half a day of woodcutting, but she fires back to buy it or not, asking if he can work on an empty stomach, claiming this friendly discount is only because they share an area. He rubs his chin. This bad. So Yan definitely has a head for business. Right after, a much stranger message pops up. A lord named Yang Yang Sin asks if anyone captured a frenzied goblin alive last night, offering 50 stone for a live subject because he wants to study how the crimson moon affects biological cells. The chat channel falls dead silent. Someone asks if this guy is insane, given that nobody can even outrun those monsters, let alone capture them alive. I am high respects the courage, but warns everyone that those beasts go absolutely berserk once their eyes turn red. Undeterred, Yang Yang Sin asks if anyone will sell him a fresh, undamaged goblin corpse for an autopsy, making the chat go dead quiet. In a completely different way, he watches with sheer amusement. This world is vast and there is no shortage of crazy players. Honestly, seeing how people survive in this harsh reality is wild. Just then, Snow Song's exploration team returns. She is as calm as ever, but the 3 militiamen behind her can barely contain their raw excitement. She spreads the goblin skin map across the wooden table before him. That lone circle is now ringed with fresh charcoal marks, indicating they scouted about 10 kilometers east, 3 kilometers out from their territory. They discovered a small spring. The water is crystal clear, and wolves drink it safely, actually growing much more energetic. About Kilometer northeast of that spring lies a patch of scorched woodland where 7 or 8 red, pulsing, gelatinous monsters are gathered around a strange piece of glowing black stone. Her cold expression flickers for the first time as she notes that they did not attack, likely meaning it is a neutral camp, harmless if left alone. He tells her she did a great job avoiding a fight. She nods and points directly to a heavily circled mark. Their most crucial discovery, she says, is right. About 10 kilometers out in a straight line, they found signs of another territory. He instantly perks up. They did not get close, she explains, only watching from a safe. On the hillside stands a wooden lord's mansion with moving peasants, but no visible troops. The most conspicuous thing is a white cloth flag hanging from the mansion. It has a smiley face drawn on it, a grinning smiley face flag. The silly expression pops into his head, and he decides this neighbor is whimsical. He presses her to confirm the exact distance, and she answers very confidently. It is 10 kilometers away, a number that drops him into deep thought. He assumed that even in a newbie zone, lords were scattered far apart. Finding each other should have been like finding a needle in a haystack. He was wrong. 10 kilometers for a lord like Wang Ho with Tier 3 Wolf cavalry means a full-speed raid could reach him in under half an hour. This newbie zone, he murmurs to himself, is far smaller than he imagined. Or rather, the high-dimensional will deliberately pack every lord tightly together. They are squeezed into a dense area, stacked right alongside resources. Surrounded by neutral camps, he understands the harsh reality all at once. This is no peaceful protection period for quiet, steady growth. It is a meticulously designed coliseum, trapping hungry beasts in a tight cage. Toss in some limited food, and the bloody outcome writes itself. Cooperation, annexation, or total destruction, and he knows Wang Ho is already searching. The moment that rival lords' range overlaps with his own territory, danger strikes. Once Wang Ho finds him, he will bring his troops at once. There is very little time left, so he tells Snow Song well done. Her mission for the day is complete, so she goes off to rest. Early on the third morning, a string of system prompts wakes him up. He rubs his eyes and climbs out of bed in the Lord's mansion. His territory has run stably for 48 hours, unlocking the next upgrade. The requirements for a level 2 mansion are met, and Snow Song's skill is ready. Energy floods him as he opens the construction panel to upgrade the mansion. A sparkling arrow now sits right behind the Lord's mansion icon. This upgrade requires 2,000 wood, 1,000 stone, and 100 gold. He checks his reserves, boosted by rewards and a full day of labor. They far exceed the cost, so he confirms, wrapping the building in light. A huge countdown opens in his vision, ticking down from 12 hours. During the upgrade, no other tied buildings can be built or improved. Defensive construction stalls completely, leaving the territory idle for now. But he cannot just sit around, so he bites a sour wild fruit. It sets his teeth aching as he opens the global chat channel. That gourmet merchant is still hawking roasted rabbit at crazy, rising prices. Angry buyers call her a scammer, yet some still trade their resources. Paying half a day's development time for a meal, keep dreaming, he thinks. It is better to rely on yourself to eat and survive out here. Hiding in the territory forever is no answer, so he heads outside. He walks down the mansion steps and calls for Snow Song. She emerges with her wolf, and he orders her to summon another. A second beast crawls from the magic circle to sniff its partner. He nods, gathers his 8 militia, and prepares them for the hunt. 3 of them stay behind to guard the gathering peasants, while the rest follow. He leads this team himself, partly for safety and partly to explore this new world. Accompanied by Snow Song, his loyal militia, and the wolves, they head out west. The small hunting party marches straight west, the only direction they did not scout yesterday. Deep in the western woods, the forest grows thick and dark. Dappled sunlight filters through the heavy canopy, scattering across the ground. The 2 wolves move nimbly, sniffing the air, perfect scouts. Suddenly, Snow Song whispers that she senses something dangerous up ahead. The lead wolf halts, baring its fangs at a bush with a low growl in its throat. He immediately halts the team, signaling the militia to raise their spears. Militiaman carefully parts the bushes. There, a massive wild boar is digging. Its huge tusks tear into the earth as it hunts. Instantly, the system panel flashes. It is a tusked wild boar, Tier 2, Level 3, with Strength 24. Its savage charge skill can easily pierce crude leather armor. This Tier 2 beast is on a completely different level than yesterday's goblins. Those were weak individually, but this boar is an absolute powerhouse. Facing this monster with his own stats hovering around 10 is suicide. He quickly whispers to Snow Song, asking if she is confident in this fight. She calmly analyzes the beast, high defense, high strength, but very slow. That is their opening. The Lord grins and agrees to execute her clever plan immediately. She and the wolves will distract it, using ice magic to slow it down. The militia will avoid a head-on clash, waiting to strike from the flanks. They nod, readying their weapons. They will strike once the beast is slowed down. With a sharp command, the battle begins as the wolves lunge from left and right. Caught completely off guard by the ambush, the massive boar panics. Then it bellows in rage and charges blindly at one of the wolves. Before it can connect, a flash of ice-blue magic strikes its front leg. Snowsong's ice thorn halts the beast mid-charge, shattering its momentum. He shouts for them to attack, and the militia find their nerve and rush. They drive their spears straight into its soft underbelly, and 3 spears find flesh. The agony drives the boar completely berserk, and it wildly swings its massive head. Its razor-sharp tusks fling one militiaman high into the air, screaming in pain. He crashes down hard, armor shredded and blood spilling onto the grass. The system warns he is severely injured and completely out of the fight. Just like that, they are down 1 man, and the remaining fighters panic. He yells to keep their distance. Don't panic, it is almost over. Snow Song raises her staff, launching another chilling ice thorn forward. It strikes the boar's eye, blinding the beast and sending it spinning. Seizing the perfect moment, the 2 wolves clamp their jaws onto its hind legs. He roars to aim for the neck, and the remaining militia rally quickly. They circle around and drive their spears deep into the thick flesh. The weapons sink into vital spots, and the massive beast thrashes wildly. Finally, the giant crashes down, staining the forest floor with deep crimson. The system congratulates him on defeating the Tier 2 tusked wild boar. Snow Song gains massive experience, and 2 of his militia level up. Qin Feng rushes to check on the wounded militia member. Fortunately, the wound is a minor flesh wound, completely missing everything vital, though he is out of combat now. At least it wasn't in vain. He smiles, looking down at the massive carcass. He smiles and harvests the beast, the system granting him 150 wild boar meat, 1 pristine hide, and 2 sharp tusks, a massive haul. This will feed his 40 odd people for days. Plus, the hide and tusks are excellent materials for later. They will be useful soon, as the team prepares to head back. Their wolf on guard growls uneasily at the spot. Qin Feng goes alert and asks what is wrong. Just then, Snow Song walks over to soothe the wolf, pointing to a dense patch of crushed ferns. She whispers that there seems to be something hidden there. Something hidden there. 2 militia laboriously drag the massive carcass aside, and, pushing the heavy ferns aside, a truly shocking sight on the ground completely stuns them. This is no treasure chest, nor is it glowing ore. It is a long-rotted skeleton. The shape of the bones and tattered hemp clothes prove it was once a native of this world, curled in a fetal position, a poor soul left to die in the boar's den. Qin Feng glances at the remains and orders his men to bury him. They comply, and after burying the body, they load up the pork and support the wounded man, setting off for home. By afternoon, they finally return. The mansion's upgrade is halfway complete, and when the peasants see their lord return with such a massive boar, the entire territory erupts. They cheer, loudly praising their benevolent lord. Qin Feng waves a grand hand, announcing that tonight everyone will feast on roast pork. As night falls, a roaring bonfire is lit in the territory center. Large slabs of meat sizzle over the fire, filling the air with a rich scent until everyone's mouths water. Qin Feng gets the largest piece, a leg, and imitating survival shows, he squeezes wild berries over it for flavor, then takes a bite. The old tough meat is incredibly salty and carries an unpleasant, earthy, fishy edge, but he chews expressionlessly. He looks at the militia and peasants sitting beside him, who are happily eating with grease dripping down their chins. Well, at least they have food. Chewing the tough roast, he opens the regional channel out of sheer habit. As expected, it is filled with panic and despair. Bono Yun is trying to sell her last rabbit meat, warning that prices will jump tomorrow. Meanwhile, Wang Ko demanding a stable food source because his wolf cavalry cannot survive on bark. Then Sumumu whimpers that she has starved for another day, begging for a quick food trade in exchange for stone. Reading this, Qin Feng takes another silent The wild boar leg, honestly, talk about contrast. Soon his well-fed people drift off to sleep, but Qin Feng does not rest, standing before the mansion. His eyes are fixed intensely on the glowing ball of light wrapping his building as a huge timer counts down. The moment the final seconds tick away, the system announces the mansion has reached level 2. The soft light instantly contracts and merges into the structure. Before his eyes, the crude hut transforms. The foundation reinforces itself, the walls thicken, and the fragile thatched roof is replaced by neat wooden shingles. It finally looks like a grand, impressive mansion now. Instead of a flimsy shack, he cannot wait to open his newly unlocked building list. Glowing options light up: farmland, a logging camp, and a stone quarry are all newly unlocked resource buildings designed to boost gathering speeds. But they require peasants to run them, so there is no rush. His gaze settles instead on an icon of a tattered tent, a refugee camp shelter for wanderers that randomly refreshes between 1 and 14 recruitable troops every week. Tier 1 units, the count rises with the camp level, and the description hints he might find some unusual helpers here, costing 1,000 wood and 500 stone. Built over 8 hours, refreshing weekly. His eyes light up. This is a stable generator of military force, even though they are only tier 1 and the quantity is random. It is the only sustainable troop source he has seen. Besides the recruitment order, he makes his decision and confirms the build. The 2 watchmen immediately spring into action on an empty plot near the mansion. With that settled, he yawns and returns to his spacious lord mansion, collapsing into deep sleep. The next morning, loud shouting wakes him as a peasant bangs on his door, begging him to come see the strange new building. He steps outside to find a few brave villagers and guards already gathered before the refugee camp, pointing and whispering. The structure is a giant hide tent made of animal skins and rotting wood, with a dim oil lamp at the entrance. A cold, eerie draft blows from inside. The system announces the camp construction is complete and this week's units are refreshed. He ignores the gossip, walking straight up to touch the weathered entrance. Instantly, the recruitment interface pops open with nearly 7 days left before the next refresh. The recruits available are skeletons, 12 tier 1 skeletons, costing 8 gold coins each. Skeletons, he hesitates, then checks their details. Tier 1, level 1, health only. 25, their stats are awful, but they have 2 skills. Ashen Heart makes them completely immune to charm and fear. Fearless of Death fixes their morale. At neutral, it never breaks or wavers. The description calls them tireless cannon fodder raised by cheap necromancy, and they do not need food. Their attributes are just too terrible. The young lord cannot help but grimace. 25 health is 10 points below a goblin. Their physical strength is even worse. They are paper thin, unable to survive a single boar charge. The only upsides are those passive skills: immunity to mind control and locked morale means they are completely loyal soldiers who will never flee. Since they do not eat, they are the ultimate disposable cannon fodder for war. But the price is steep. 8 gold each means 96 for 12. His first place reward was only 200 gold. 100 went into the mansion upgrade, leaving just 100. Buying them all would bankrupt his treasury. Gold is incredibly hard to find, and securing more requires a steady resource node. Like an actual gold mine, is it really worth blowing everything on fragile undead? He is stuck in a brutal dilemma. Without recruiting them, his territory has no mobile force to deploy, forcing him to risk his precious militia to spend at will, and he cannot keep risking his militia and Snow Song on every outing, since losing even 1 soldier would cripple him for a long time. But if he does recruit them and a better unit refreshes next week with no money left to buy it, that is a massive loss. He looks at his 8 militia, then at Snow Song. In the distance, his force is still too small. 1 more wild boar yesterday and his squad might have suffered real casualties. Wang Ho's wolf cavalry are tier 3 and his militia are tier 1, making a direct clash like throwing an egg against a rock. To beat him, he needs enough fodder to grind down the cavalry and create space for his towers and hero to deal the real damage. His gaze hardens, deciding to bet it all. Even cannon fodder are soldiers, and having a shield to take a hit at critical moments is absolutely crucial. He selects the maximum option and recruits all 12 skeletons, spending 96 gold as his balance plummets from 100 to 4 in an instant. The weathered door creaks open, and a heavy plume of black mist surges out. The watching peasants and militia back away in fear at the harsh grind of bones. 12 skeletons emerge from the darkness, rusted iron swords in hand, with 2 points of ghostly blue sulfur burning in their hollow sockets. Walking with stiff steps, they form 2 rows before him, thrusting their swords into the ground in unison as they kneel on one knee in perfect sync. The peasants whisper in terror, wondering what kind of monsters these are and why the Lord summoned the undead. Fearing they might be killed, even the militia grip their spears, tense and wary. He calls for quiet, his voice cutting through the panic, and walks between the skeletons and the peasants, turning to face his original subjects. He asks if they are afraid, and they nod without thinking. He calmly tells them he understands their fear, but from this day on, these are also members of the territory. Pointing at the motionless skeletons, he explains that these are his soldiers, warriors summoned to protect them and defend this place. They need no food or sleep, standing tireless and completely unafraid of death, serving as their sturdiest shield against whatever lurks in the darkness. From now on, the nightly patrols and guard duty will fall to the skeletons, allowing everyone to sleep soundly. The peasants glance at one another, their fear slowly giving way to confusion and a creeping reassurance. After all, frightening as the skeletons look, they will never fight over food and can keep everyone safe, making them far easier to accept. He finishes by telling them the skeletons are his subjects, just like the rest, declaring he will tolerate no discrimination or infighting within his territory, demanding to know if they understand. They answer as one. Voice is still a bit shaky, but the panic is gone. He nods, satisfied. His ideological work, or rather his brainwashing, is going quite well. He turns to the 12 and gives his first command for them to patrol the perimeter wall in pairs. They rise without a single sound and head off in different directions with synchronized steps. Moving in near silence, save for the faint clacking of bone, he stands at the entrance, watching the 12 skeletons patrol the perimeter in stiff but orderly steps. Silence reigns, save for the dry clack of colliding bones blending into the calm morning. This is far easier than keeping 12 guard dogs that require feeding and bark all night. Skeletons are simply cleaner and more efficient. He walks to a farmhouse where Sunji, the militia man flung by the boar yesterday, leans against a wall, working his shoulder with a painful grimace. He asks how the man is, and Sunji snaps upright, thumping his chest to insist he is fine. It only hurts a little, no big deal. The Lord looks at the chest wound where the tusk gash has already scabbed over, healing far faster than he expected. The humans of this world seem to possess far tougher bodies than those back on Blue Star. Even so, he shakes his head and tells Star to stay behind and guard the territory until his wound fully heals. The warrior anxiously insists that he can still fight. He tells him it is a strict order. He needs soldiers who can give their absolute all, not wounded warriors walking straight into battle, especially since they are in absolutely no hurry to rush this. For this single fight, Star lowers his head, finally backing down. With the warrior settled, he gathers Snow Song and the other 7 militia. He tells them that the last 2 days of scouting were highly valuable, but they need even sharper intelligence starting today. He pulls out the goblin's skin map and points to a blank northern stretch. He tells her that she leads today, the target due north, exactly 10 kilometers out. Straight north to see if another territory sits there as well. She understands completely. Realizing he wants to confirm how the neighboring lords are spread out, he agrees. Nodding in approval, talking to smart people saves him so much effort. He adds that if time permits, she should check the south too, the same. Rules apply: scout first, stay safe, and retreat instantly if anything seems suspicious. She nods, and soon she leads 3 wild wolves and 7 of the eager militia into the northern woods. Once the exploration team sets off, he turns his focus to construction. He does not want to miss any of the new buildings. The level 2 mansion unlocked. He opens the build menu to make a sweeping pass, building farmland for 600 wood and 300 stone, plus 800 wood and 400 stone, plus the quarry, ordering them. All 3 resource building silhouettes rise from the vacant lands outskirts as eager peasants rush over with clattering tools to start working. These buildings greatly boost the gathering speed of specific resources, forming the foundation of their development. Productivity alone is never enough. The population has to keep pace, so he turns back to the farmhouses. The cap at level 2 is 10, and he only built 5 before. He adds 5 more for 750 wood and 375 stone, watching a huge chunk of his reserves vanish instantly. Watching those numbers plummet, he feels no pain. Resources left unused are just dead. Objects only by turning them into strength for the territory do they become. True wealth. With all of that completed, progress bars pop up everywhere. The territory looks highly prosperous. Talk about a satisfying view. He pulls up a stool at the mansion entrance, spreading the increasingly detailed map. Across his lap to sketch with some charcoal, a neighbor lies 10 kilometers. East he notes, and likely to the north and south too. West is the Boar Forest. No humans have been found there yet. As the territory expands, the original 3 arrow towers in their triangle formation can no longer defend everything, while the new logging camp and quarry sit exposed on the outskirts, so he must enclose them with fresh walls and defensive towers nearby. Before long, it is already noon. Suddenly, a rapid grinding of bone interrupts his deep, quiet thoughts. A skeleton from the Eastern Patrol runs toward him incredibly fast. It cannot speak, but the thrashing soul fire sends a clear alarm. He drops the map, stands, and quickly strides to the mansion roof for a wider view. Looking east in the direction the skeleton points, he spots movement at the forest edge about a kilometer east. Several strange figures are peeking around shiftily, their upper bodies are robust and human, with bronze skin, knotted muscles, and incredibly agile lower halves. Those horse-like shapes are centaurs. Instantly, he recalls the report about a smiley flag neighbor 10 kilometers east. These centaurs march with strict discipline, nothing like brainless wild monsters. They are scouting his territory. We have guests, he whispers, then orders the alarm to sound, sending everyone except the working peasants into the Lord's mansion. The warning bell rings out, piercing across the territory. The gathering peasants drop their work and bolt for the mansion in a panic. The phantom archers atop the 3 towers draw back their bows, arrows gleaming cold. Instantly, the entire territory flips from peaceful production to taut combat readiness. Suddenly, a man walks out of the eastern woods with his hands raised high, waving a tattered scrap of white cloth he tore from somewhere. As if terrified of being missed, he approaches slowly and carefully and stops about 120 meters away, just outside a basic arrow tower's range. Talk about a clever move. For most newbie lords, this distance is safe. And from behind his wall, the lord watches him closely. The visitor pulls behind his back, lifts it to his mouth, and shouts with all his might. He screams that he is a friend, means no harm, and has only come to negotiate. Negotiation, the lord mutters, trusting absolutely no one in this unfamiliar world where any living person could be a threat. But with that white flag and cautious distance, he has shown enough sincerity. Refusing to talk would just make the lord look small-minded. He orders some skeletons beside him to follow. The blue soul fires in their fresh bony frames flicker as they fall into stiff strides, and he walks out through a gap in the wall, flanked by 4 silent undead, stopping 5 meters away to keep a safe distance. While still applying pressure, he asks what the stranger wants, and the young man looks to be in his early 20s, calmly lowering his megaphone while his dark gaze lingers on the skeletons for a moment. He wants to cooperate, he says straightforwardly, proposing a trade of resources and even an offensive and defensive alliance, or at least staying completely out of each. Others wait to define clear boundaries with a non-aggression treaty. The Lord questions this offer of cooperation, asking why he does not approach Wang Ho instead, who has Tier 3 troops, a Grade A talent, and real power. Wouldn't that be safer? The visitor laughs, saying that speaking of Wang Ho, he can guess this lord must be the top player. MB asked how he knows. He offers to introduce himself first as Gang Jin. The lord instantly searches his memory, finding that very name in the rankings from the night of the Crimson Moon. This Gang Jin placed 6th, meaning he is no simple character. The man explains he scouted this area on day 2, saw the 3 wooden arrow towers behind the wall, and deduced he was likely the top-ranked player. MBM during the Crimson Moon. After a brief pause, his gaze sweeps across the lord's substantial defenses. He notes that for defensive operations, these arrow towers are far more valuable than Wang Ho's wolf cavalry. Wang Ho is arrogant and conceited, he says, adding that Tier 3 troops and Grade A talent mean absolutely nothing. Ruin is coming sooner or later. Tone drips with absolute contempt before shifting, as he boasts with a hint of pride that his own forces are not exactly weak. He tilts his head toward the woods, and several massive half-human, half-horse figures slowly emerge. They are tall and muscular, solemn faces. He recruited 9 Tier 2 centaurs Spearmen right at the start, he says steadily, their combat power is not beneath Wang Ho's wolf cavalry, tier 2 troops, his gaze falls on them, the system's observation function kicks in to read. Out Centaur Spearmen, tier 2, level 2, health 110. Strength 22, agility 18. Excellent, highly flexible warriors of the plains. Quite good, their health and strength roughly match the tier 2 boars. But their agility is markedly higher, a real force to be reckoned with. Pressure rises, first Wang Ho's wolf cavalry, now Gang Jin's centaurs. Why does everyone else get elites while he gets negligible tier 1? Militia and skeletons that rank low, even among the worst tier 1 fodder. Creatures a strong wind could scatter, the gap is simply too large. Honestly, it's pretty brutal, but then he looks back at the walls. At those arrow towers, those thick defenses, and the hidden hunting traps. Confidence returns. Gang Jin's centaurs are strong, but they still bleed. To attack his territory, they must first charge through the trap zone, endure the wooden arrow towers, and finally face his sturdy walls. And by the time they reach his militia, almost nothing left. This Gang Jin is smart. He calculated a forced assault costs too much. That is exactly why he chose to negotiate. Peaceful solutions work. He finally agrees in principle. A friendly neighbor beats a predatory enemy, especially with a larger threat like Wang Ho looming over them both. He suggests a boundary, a way to stay off each other's ground. Pointing to a winding creek halfway between their territories, he proposes the line. The east bank is Gang Jin's range, the west bank is his. As for deeper cooperation, they can private message each other anytime. He isn't foolish enough to trust a stranger completely. A simple verbal agreement, built on mutual weariness, is the most sincerity he can offer now. Gang Jin thinks for a moment, then nods. Fine, we have a deal. It is a result well within his expectations. Trust takes time. A defined boundary is a good start. He waves, taking his leave. The centaurs turn at once. He nods once more before following them. He watches them go, then he orders 2 skeletons to shadow them, confirming they have gone far enough before finally returning to the mansion. Inside, he digests what he learned. This world gets more interesting daily. Not everyone is as foolish as Wang Ho. Gang Jin plans ahead. He is a potential ally, or perhaps a more dangerous enemy. Time will tell. Just as he sits down to redraw his blueprints, the area channel floods. The speaker is Wang Ho. He announces an incredibly massive discovery. After relentless exploration, his wolf cavalry confirmed a clear pattern. In this newbie area, every single lord has neighbors in all directions. Except for the unlucky ones dropped on the outskirts, they are 10 kilometers apart. The channel completely erupts. Zhengwei crows that their boss actually figured it out. Zhou Riri frets, realizing she is surrounded. This is a total nightmare. Banso Yun realizes this, explains the shadow of nearby territories. It was someone else's territory she glimpsed while sending peasants for firewood. And it scared her right back home. His eyes narrow just as he suspected. Gang Jin came from 10 kilometers east, and Wang Ho's announcement confirms this suspicion. Completely, this so-called newbie continent is actually a carefully designed Colosseum. It also means snow songs, southward push, is no longer necessary. Since there is almost certainly another lord out that way, Wang Ho savors the spotlight and sends a long message telling everyone not to panic, claiming the pattern only proves the importance of his heavenly wolf alliance. Since they all come from the same city, they should unite, he says, because fighting alone only gets them picked off one by monsters and people with ill intent. He earnestly advises everyone again to join and submit to his unified command, insisting that only by pooling resources and concentrating strength can they survive this hellhole, and that he will lead everyone to glory. They should stop hesitating, he warns, because the world outside will only grow more dangerous. And by then it will be too late to cling to someone powerful. His speech runs. Impassioned, casting himself as the area's savior, the young lord closes the channel. How ridiculous. Follow his unified command. It sounds noble, but all he wants is everyone's resources handed over and everyone's bodies spent as his fodder. Just then the 2 skeletons he sent out return. Mission accomplished. Gang Jin has gone back to his own territory, surrounded on all sides. He thinks, what a headache. He wakes in the morning, picks up a strip of wood out of habit, and carves the 7th notch into it with a small knife. 7 days, in 1 week his territory has changed beyond recognition. Snow songs exploration. Team has combed the whole stretch within 10 kilometers of home, every resource node. Every wild monster den and every water source is marked in charcoal across. That dark goblin skin map, the defenses have climbed a full tier too. 4 fresh wooden arrow towers are raised on the perimeter, locking with the original. 3 into a crossfire net that blankets every inch of the place, the level 2. Lord's Mansion also unlocked a new structure, the wooden fence, 8 wood. In 4 minutes per meter, its durability is pathetic, barely worth calling in. Obstacle, but it is cheap, only 2/5 the cost and time of a wooden wall, following the principle of digging deep tunnels and storing grain. Wide, he has the peasants ring a sparse fence outside the sturdy walls. With 2 layers of barrier, 7 arrow towers, and hundreds of hunting traps. Salted through the grass, even if his territory is not quite an iron fortress. He will settle for impregnable. Snow Song has been handing him 1 wild wolf a day. Steady as clockwork, and he has 6 of them now, counting them the 8. Militia and the 12 skeletons, that is 26 Tier 1 units, with the hero Snow Song. Over the top, watching the skeletons patrol the line, and the wolves nap in. The shade of a farmhouse, he feels for the first time that his forces have grown. Into something with teeth, he has lain low for 6 days, time to stretch his legs. And turn all those red marks on the map into resources in his warehouse, he gives the order to assemble, and the soldiers scattered across their posts gather in front of the Lord's Mansion at once, 8 militia, 12 skeletons, 6 wild wolves and Snow Song. He tells Ler and Wang Yu to stay behind and keep the peasants. He orders the outer wall reinforced, commanding everyone to follow him. A man never leaves home without cards in his hand, because if his base gets raided while he is away, he will have nowhere to cry. They answer as one, and the column marches south, leaving their territory behind in a majestic march. Their first target, a wild monster camp Snow Song scouted a few days back, red gelatinous things. Squatting in a scorched stretch of woodland, she points across the blackened earth, telling him it is just ahead. He halts the team and slips behind a wide tree to look. In the clearing, 5 red slimes the size of water vats wriggle slowly around a black stone that still gives off heat, their jelly bodies sparking with stray flame. System scan complete. These are low-grade Tier 1 fire slimes. Health is 65. Strength and agility are both painfully low-grade fire element creatures that move like sludge. Plenty of health, no speed, no punch. Perfect sparring partners to drill his ragtag army and sharpen his micromanagement. A plan instantly clicks in his head. He counts them and begins the assault. Sends the skeletons charging in from the front, ordering the militia to fan out left and right, striking with their spears without closing the distance. He tells Snow Song to roam with the wild wolves and cover the line with Icethorn. 12. Skeletons step off in silence and march straight into the slimes. The fire slimes spot the intruders and spit a scatter of little fireballs that burst against the bony frames. Sparks fly, scorch marks bloom, and the damage numbers crawl up at 2 and 3 a hit. Is this a light massage? The skeletons may be brittle, but the slimes deal even less. Worse yet, they never think to concentrate fire on a single skeleton. The skeletons shrug off the burns and bring their rusty swords down hard on the jelly bodies. Blades sink in. Lava-colored fluids splash out. He sends the militia in, and 6 of them quickly flank from both wings, spears punching clean through. These puncture wounds are far harder for a slime to heal than a slash. Snow Song unleashes the wolves, and the 6 of them flicker across the field like ghosts, never closing on the slimes, just nipping and harassing to pull their attention. Then, a streak of icy blue light cuts the air and lands square on the largest fire slime, Snow Song's. Icethorn ice meets fire with a sharp shriek and a cloud of white steam, frost crusts over the slime, its sluggish movements crawling slower still, and a bright red 25 floats up off it, super effective. He praises her, telling her to keep going and freeze a lot of them into popsicles. With the tactics this clean, the fight turns into bookkeeping. Skeletons soak the front, while militia and wolves bleed the flanks, with Snow Song parked like a turret, dropping an ice thorn whenever it counts. In under 5 minutes, all 8 fire slimes are completely reduced to puddles of dull cooling gel. His side comes through untouched, but for a few skeletons whose bones are a little soot-stained, the system hands him a gray resource chest. He steps over, kicks the gel pile, and cracks it open. 150 wood and 100 stone. His face falls. Mobilizing the entire army, he marched all this way for spoils that do not even cover the fuel. Still, it is better than Nothing, he came to train the troops and practice his command anyway, so the scraps are a pleasant bonus. He tells them they're moving on, leading the team deeper. South, the slimes were the appetizer. The real prize is still ahead. After another 2 kilometers, they reach the foot of a cliff with a pitch-black cave mouth. It is pretty small, but a soft white light leaks faintly from a white crystal mine. His eyes light up. He already knows exactly what this illumination can do. Think of it like a sun planted in the dark, a massive cushion of safety. If he can secure this mine and pull a steady stream of white crystal from it, he can easily turn his entire territory into a city that never sleeps. But first, he must deal with the guard dogs. Snow Song reports a huge pack of goblins nesting in the cave. Leaving his main force behind, he creeps up to the entrance with Snow Song and 2 wolves, ducking low behind a massive boulder. Peering out, he sees green-skinned monsters clustering everywhere. Some brawl, some grind stone tools, and others cook. They roast something mystery meat style, filling the thick air with charred smoke. The system reads them as Tier 1 goblins with a dangerous extra suffix. Their stats are higher, boosted to 8 strength and 9 agility. He counts 16 in plain sight, with even more lurking deeper inside. Snow Song whispers that a direct head-on assault will definitely cost him skeletons. He nods in agreement. Sending his 26 units against these goblins is risky. Sure, they can win, but at what cost? The militia can take some hits. And their wounds heal after a couple days. A dead wolf can just be summoned again tomorrow. But those 12 skeletons are a completely different story. They cost 8 gold coins each. That is 96 gold coins invested, and losing even one would be painful. Their fragile, low-health frames could shatter from a few solid hits with a crude club. Trading half his assets for a single mine is a total scam. Only an idiot like Wang Ho would choose a direct frontal assault. Our hero prefers the cautious path, planning until he can crush them easily. His eyes dart between the goblins at the cave entrance and the surrounding terrain. And just like that, a wonderfully simple but dirty plan begins to take shape. He pulls Snow Song close and whispers his plan in a low voice. Pointing at the lounging green-skinned monsters, he tells her to send her 2 wolves to bait them. They just need to bite them once and run, luring the beasts directly into a trap. Just bait and run, she understands. He leads the retreat. He quietly leads his main force back 200 meters into a dense patch of trees. Placing skeletons up front, he orders them to wait for the incoming goblins. Once they cross under 100 meters, they will burst out and lock them down. Next, he splits his militia into 2 wings to flank and stab them from behind. He orders Snow Song to take the high ground and pick off any fast targets. A flawless pocket trap set with just a few words, the 12 skeletons lie flat. They stay dead silent in the grass, pale bones blending in while the 6 militia wait. They grip their spears behind thick trunks, palms slick with nervous sweat. With everything set, he signals Snow Song. She whimpers low to her 2 gray wolves. The beasts immediately dart out of the woods, charging straight toward the mine entrance. Several dozing goblins are caught completely off guard as a wolf lunges and bites. It sinks its teeth deep into a goblin's rear, making it leap up screaming. The other wolf acts craftier, clamping onto a wooden club and yanking hard. It immediately spins around to retreat as the entire goblin camp erupts into pure chaos. They snatch up clubs, tearing after the beasts on stubby legs. There is no formation at all. Blinded by rage, they never notice the wolves are leading them. Straight toward the silent trees, they are coming, he thinks, as the predators dive. Into the woods, slip neatly around a massive trunk, and vanish, leaving the 5 goblins to blunder right into the trap he prepared for them. He gives the order and 12 skeletons rise from the grass, sulfur flaring in their sockets to slam into the goblins before the monsters can even register. The ambush, these skeletons know no fine technique and fear no death, so they pin the enemy down with bone, rust, and iron. The targets hammer back with their clubs, dull thuds clashing as damage numbers tick up at 4 and 5, and he winces to see his soldiers taking hits. He shouts at them that those are 8 gold coins each, so go easy on them. The instant the goblins are tangled, the 6 militiamen burst from both wings, driving spears into sides and backs as dark green blood sprays. The goblins shriek and twist, only to find the skeletons holding them in place. It becomes a completely one-sided slaughter, and ice storm flies from the high ground, smashing the knee of a goblin warrior. Trying to rally, dropping it to its knees as 2 militiamen swarm and riddle it. In under a minute, all 5 goblins lie dead in the dirt. His only casualty is a single skeleton with a cracked rib. As it wobbles comically, he snaps his fingers, ordering them to clear the field and prep the next wave. That worked like a charm, and it is easily the safest, most efficient way to clear this camp. They run it. Again, Snow Song sends the 2 well-drilled wolves up for another round of taunting. This time the targets are actual goblin warriors. The wolves do not close, only clawing at the dirt near the entrance and letting out a taunting howl now and then, until 6 more goblins lose patience and rush out roaring. The result is exactly the same. Lured into his death grove, they are ground to pieces between skeletons and militia. Having tasted easy blood, he intends to bait out every last goblin at the entrance, but on the 3rd pass their perfect script completely breaks. The goblins, still highly agitated, only hover at the opening, eyeing the wolves and refusing to give chase, turning to bark a rapid string of panic chatter into the darkness of the cave. They are getting smarter. Is that backup coming? Sure enough, a few seconds later, a noticeably larger figure shuffles out, standing half again as tall as a standard goblin. Dark green skin covers knotted muscle, with a beast skull helmet on its head and a polished stone axe in its fist. The system names it a goblin warrior, tier 2, health 100, strength 20. Its skill is rally, which lifts the morale of nearby allies. An elite that has survived countless battles and learned how to command. Seeing a tier 2 unit, his face hardens the moment it appears. The remaining 7 or 8 goblins find their nerve, falling in right behind it, into a crooked defensive line, weapons leveled outward. They are not coming out. The deal is off, he mutters, the snake refusing to leave its hole. Now, the choice is simple: retreat and grow stronger, or fight right now. He weighs 12 skeletons, 6 militiamen, and 6 wolves against that goblin warrior. A frontal charge would likely win, but at a price he does not want to pay, and he refuses to throw himself into a losing venture. His eyes move between his troops and the dense crowd of goblins at the mouth. The skeletons are fragile, but they possess one massive advantage: they do not fear death. A grim resolve settles over him. He tells Snow Song to listen, and she instantly responds. On his signal, the skeletons charge forward, not to kill, but to break their formation. They must pry the enemy apart. The instant they move, Snow Song casts Ice Thorn. The Ice Thorn slows the goblin warrior, while his militia and wolves charge in from the flanks. They ignore the small fry entirely, focusing every strike on the massive leader. He orders them to target the leader first, since once that tier 2 warrior falls, the rest will scatter. They understand. The militia roars with vigor. The skeletons stand ready in unison. He calls the total assault. Bringing his hand down, 12 skeletons hurl themselves at the cave mouth 100 meters away. A single straight line, speed builds, the skeletal clash begins. Their charge fuses into one unbroken roar. The goblin warrior never expected to be attacked and rears back, bellowing with its axe. The goblins behind shriek, a heartbeat before they collide. Magic strikes. An ice blue ray strikes first, burying itself in the giant's raised right leg. Its charge stalls, momentum completely shattered, and you know what comes next. The skeleton wall crashes heavily into the goblin's brittle defensive line. No screams, only the sickening sound of splintering bone and tearing flesh. The lead skeleton is smashed to fragments on impact, its sulfur snuffed. 8 gold coins gone just like that, but the sacrifice buys a breach. The tight goblin formation is ripped wide open by that fearless charge. 6 wolves pour through the gap the skeletons tore, heading straight at the slowed goblin warrior. The militia follow close behind, spears raised high. They swing wildly at the scattered regulars as the battlefield boils over. The giant warrior is no joke, sweeping its stone axe in a wide arc that sends one wolf flying. But the other 5 clamp onto its limbs. Snow Song's second ice thorn lands. The militia man seizes the opening and throws his spear with full strength. He throws it with everything he has, sending the shaft arcing deep into the beast. It pierces the back, and the massive body crashes down with a final roar. With the leader dead, the rest dissolve into screaming panic. They scatter only to find their escape cut off by silent skeletons. The battle ends fast. He walks onto the field, smelling scorched bone. He quickly tallies the cost, noting 2 skeletons are dead and 16 gold is gone. 1 wolf is dead but easily replaced. 2 militia are wounded. Nothing serious, but his chest still aches a bit as he presses a hand to it. But it was worth it. He looks up at the glowing cave mouth. His coveted white crystal mine awaits. He eagerly strides into the damp cave. Thick veins of white crystals snake along the damp walls, casting an incredibly brilliant, clean glow. The light is bright enough to make torches completely pointless. He reaches the center. The moment he reaches the center, the system congratulates him on occupying this special resource point. He has secured this miniature white crystal mine, marking his first success. Because of this, the system rewards him with a miner's hut blueprint. It also announces that the construction rules have completely changed. He can now build structures directly around any occupied resource point. This massive upgrade lights a fire under him, and he opens his menu. 200 reserves await. Send miner units to begin extraction. Every 5 miners can pull 1 crystal daily, with a hard maximum cap of 3. This rare vein is crucial for crafting advanced magical buildings. Miners are unlocked. Standard peasants cannot dig here. Since 5 miners are needed per unit, 15 are required to hit maximum daily capacity. He opens the blueprint for a miner's hut, costing 400 wood. Construction takes 6 hours and 400 stone, granting 5 miners. 3 huts will max production, but the final notification matters most. He gains building rights, meaning he can plant a whole outpost. Now watch, this fortress will extract resources and defend itself simultaneously. The pure tactical value of an outpost easily dwarfs the mine itself. Being pulled in 4 directions is not a curse, he realizes, eyeing the map. A bold strategy forms. He will build a vast fortress network. This critical white crystal mine will serve as his very first satellite stronghold. He orders Snow Song to race home and prepare the peasants. They must gather wood, stone, select 20 strong workers, and rush back. Without a word, she leaps onto her white wolf and dashes off. He sets the remaining troops to clear the area while he searches the ground. Kneeling down, he carefully gathers intact bones from the shattered skeleton monsters. The system reveals these recovered bones can repair other undead or build structures. Talk about recycling. Even these dead bones make excellent building material. With a lighter mood, he stations 10 skeletons and 6 militia as guards. Resting on a rock, he begins sketching the outpost design. He will construct 3 miners' huts, safely tucked deep within the fortified cavern. 2 arrow towers will guard the entrance to create deadly crossfire. Walls and fences will encircle the entire perimeter, packed with hidden hunting traps. A rival lord lurks to the south, making a garrison necessary. His militia are loyal and dependable, but they are gone forever if killed. Skeletons are pure fodder, no heartache to lose, just weak alone. He decides on 2 militia paired with 2 defensive arrow towers. This defense should easily repel minor Tier 1 harassment, buying valuable time. Unwilling to sit idle, he patrols the area surrounding the mine. He clears out several stray wild beasts while carefully mapping the local terrain. By afternoon, Snow Song returns, leading the column of peasants. With supplies and manpower finally secured, he orders construction to begin immediately. 20 peasants throw themselves into the building labor with absolute dedication. His rank of talent slashes defense construction costs, allowing them to build incredibly fast. Watching these outpost structures rise from the dirt brings immense relief. But he cannot linger here. The western sky signals time is short. A quick map glance reveals another cave hidden deep in the forest. This second cavern likely holds iron, which is the single resource he desperately needs. Iron is vital for upgraded traps. He prepares to move out. Leaving 4 militia and the skeletons to guard the outpost, he travels light. With 2 militia and 5 wolves, they enter the western woods. Massive ancient trees completely block the sun, leaving the forest floor decaying. Half an hour in, they reach the base of a steep cliff and a black cave mouth. Smaller than the goblin mine, with gnawed bones and dark ore scattered at its threshold. He picks up a stone, feeling its heavy grain, unrefined iron. It really is an iron mine, making him rejoice. He signals the team to keep quiet and creeps up to a thicket, a knot of strange creatures. Crowds the entrance. Their heads are enormous, taking up nearly a third of their bodies. With facial features pinched together until they blur, those great skulls sit on short, neckless bodies. They clutch crude short spears in their hands, and the system names them cave dwellers, Tier 1, health 45 with stats close to a goblin's. Their skill is immunity to blindness, primitives bred so long in the dark that their sight is withered, forcing them to navigate by hearing and smell. Immune to blindness means they are already blind. No wonder darkness holds no fear. He counts about 30 of them near the mouth. Their vigilance is high, with some pressing their huge heads to the ground now and then to listen. Snow Song whispers to him that there are more of them than goblins and they look tougher to handle. He nods. Their basic attributes match the goblins, but the numbers worry him. What if they hide? A tier 2 elite or two. Let's be real, this would turn extremely ugly. Worse, his usual bait and run tactic is completely useless against things hunting by sound and scent. The wolves' harassment means absolutely nothing to them. Taking this mine means a real fight. Facing over 20 of them in a head-on charge will cost him several more skeletons at 8 gold each, and with only 4 gold left he simply cannot afford to bleed money. This won't work today, he decides, letting the idea of an immediate attack go. The core of the cautious path is never to fight any battle he is unsure of. Never fight a losing war, just wait a while. Snow Song can summon another wolf daily, and the refugee camp's weekly refresh is near. Hoping next week brings a good surprise, he whispers and waves her off. Withdrawing in silence, they leave for now, playing the long game. Dawn is just breaking when he stretches on the new wooden bed in his mansion, joints cracking before he is even fully awake. Cold system notices detonate in his mind. The second round of the newbie period, the Crimson Moon, begins after midnight tonight, and here's the scary part. This upcoming monster tide is far worse than the first. All lords are urged to give everything, and any who fail their defense will be executed. Execution again. The last of his drowsiness vanishes. Are they really not going to let anyone sleep? He curses under his breath, dressing fast and shoving the door open to prepare for this massive threat. He surveys his ground. 7 arrow towers, 2 rings of barrier, and 100-odd hunting traps. Plenty for the first goblin wave, but against a tide the system itself calls far worse. He has 0 confidence. It's just not safe. The cautious path will not abide an obvious weak point anywhere in his territory. Losing even a sliver of his troops makes him ache for half a day, so it is more practical to simply build more towers, since towers are static while soldiers are not. Grinding the enemy down on cold structures is the cheapest answer possible. He opens the construction list and locks onto the wooden arrow tower. The lumber and stone reserves have grown fat over the past days. Resources are only resources, he tells himself, so spend them and earn them back, immediately placing orders for 8 more defensive towers. Corners and the soft spots. The system asks him to confirm 1,600 wood and another 800 stone for 8 arrow towers. He confirms without flinching. A massive chunk disappears from his stockpiles, but as the 8 phantom towers rise and the peasants swarm them with tools, his heart finally eases. 15 wooden arrow towers center around his mansion, woven into a layered, staggered web of fire across near and far, high and low. No ground attacker is spared a baptism of arrows from every angle. No blind spot remains. Towers alone are not enough, though, so he has his peasants pour every scrap of new lumber and stone into reinforcing the outer wall and palisade. In the evening, Snow Song returns from the southern mine, leading a squad of peasants, pushing a crude wheelbarrow loaded with the day's white crystals, soft light spilling off them. She tells him the first batch has arrived. Perfect timing, and his spirits rise. He picks 3 key spots inside the territory to build 3 illumination lighthouses. The system demands 450 wood, 225 stone, and 3 crystals. He confirms the moment they are built. He orders every lighthouse lit, and the tall beacons flare together. Soft white light tears the darkness off the entire sanctuary. The outer defense zone is included, glowing bright as noon. Every unit in the territory steadies. He nods satisfied. Let's check the regional channel. Absolute chaos, which is the usual wall of wailing. Lords are fresh off repairing yesterday's walls, absolutely sure they will die tonight. Many are screaming for Ho Hyang to save them from a tide the system warns is worse. Wang Ho's reply surfaces fast, drenched in supreme authority arrogance, sneering at the panic of country bumpkins who have never seen the world. He claims he has recruited a few more wolf cavalry and grown far stronger, boasting that a mere monster tide is just the system delivering free resources. He orders the Heavenly Wolf Alliance to prepare, promising that after tonight they will be the sole overlords of the region while the ungrateful wretches get torn apart. That jolts him. Wolf cavalry are tier 3, impossible to recruit from a refugee camp, which means Wang Ho found a special building to recruit them outright. 5 wolf cavalry are a limited threat, but a steady stream of them is Something else entirely, not to be underestimated, the clock crawls toward midnight, and right on the dot, the crimson moon descends, the blood red glow is richer than before, with a faint reek of blood choking the air. The monsters no longer come from one direction. Warnings flash that a large-scale tide is closing in on every side of his territory at once. He stands on the mansion roof with a grave expression, watching dark shapes surge from the shadows. At the edge of the beacon light, among the frenzied goblins from before, there is a new breed much taller than any goblin, stout, dark red skin hauling massive morning stars that shake the ground as they run. The system names them Goblin Thugs, Tier 2, Health 115, Strength 22, Heavy Strike Elite. Strong enough to shatter wooden shields with ease. Tier 2 is Common Cannon. Fodder now, he realizes, holding his breath. At least a dozen thugs ride. Wave of nearly 100 frenzied goblins, an unstoppable green flood. With this line up, any ordinary lord would get erased. He draws the stone axe taken off the goblin warrior, gripping it tight. Braced for the worst, he is ready to lead a street fight in person if the line breaks. The monsters hit the trap zone. Goblins snap into jaws, shrieking, legs bloodied, speed utterly ruined. But the thugs behind don't care. They trample their own and bull right through. Then all 15 arrow towers open up at once, raining arrows like a hard downpour. Bloody bursts erupt everywhere. Horde counts climb fast, straight into the 40s. The ordinary frenzied goblins die instantly, dropping in heaps, but those thugs are stubborn. Each arrow only scratches off about 20 health, some of them even bat shafts aside with morning stars, taking next to no damage. The first thugs through the rain smash into the outer palisade. That flimsy fence shreds like paper. He roars from the roof for Snow Song to slow those thugs. She answers, swinging her staff beneath a tower. Ice spikes come streaking directly into the lead thugs, frost crusting them and dragging their speed down. He orders skeletons to hold the line, sending 10 silent ones marching toward the thugs that breach the palisade. They must sacrifice their fragile bones to buy precious time for the towers. A thug's morning star crashes down before a single skeleton can even raise its sword, shattering the bone frame. 8 gold coins gone. His heart aches, but his gaze only grows colder. He commands the militia and wolf pack to strike the flanks and target the legs. 6 militia and 6 wolves pour out from the wall gap, stabbing into the thugs' sides like a pair of knives. The battlefield becomes a meat grinder. Towers raining death from above. Skeletons build a solid wall out of their own bodies. Militia and wolves harass and execute, but the sheer impact of the thugs makes the entire defensive line shudder. Another thug breaks past the skeletons and slams its star into the sturdy wooden wall. The system reports the wall's durability dropped by 25 from that single blow, a devastating hit. This is getting dangerous. His eyelid twitches. He can't let them near the wall. He makes the quick call, ordering every militiaman back behind the wall to thrust through the firing slits, while the wolves continue to harass the enemy. A Snow Song unleashes Ice Thorn as her basic attack, without conserving mana. The tactics shift instantly. The militia retreat behind cover and jab out through the slits, perfectly safe, while Snow Song unleashes her freezing power with relentless ice spikes, freezing every thug that dares approach the wall. The battle finally steadies, with monsters pinned outside and mowed down. Under the arrow rain, the brutal struggle drags on for 10 full minutes. When the last thug, turned into a pincushion, finally topples, the field goes silent. He lets out a long breath, axe hand soaked with sweat, and surveys the carnage outside. Corpses are piled, dark green blood running in streams. He tallies the heavy cost: 6 skeletons destroyed, 2 militia wounded by rogue monsters crossing the line, though not fatally thanks to their deep health pools. 2 wolves dead, a wide gap in the wall, and the traps gone, a massive loss. He stares at the 6 fallen skeletons until his heart genuinely aches. With regret, 48 gold coins vanish just like that, but looking at the spoils blanketing the ground and the coming rewards, his mood quickly recovers. What is gone. As long as he stands, everything else is pure profit. The system announces the second wave has ended, settling scores for each lord. Performance and a massive leaderboard blooms before every survivor. The top names have shuffled hard this time. Wang Ho lands first at 15 minutes and 12 seconds. Lord named Henry is second. Our hero takes third at 20 minutes. Uobo lands fourth, looking at name right above his own without much surprise. 5 wolf cavalry are strong but few. And once the count climbs, the math changes, but it is that second place Henry who makes him take a second look, a lord who has ranked high since the first Crimson Moon yet never once spoke in the chat, a completely transparent presence, and now he has slipped past him to chase Wang Ho's heels. He is a highly dangerous player, hiding his strength. The chat explodes after a brief silence, with sycophants crowing that Wang Ho is first and absolutely invincible, sniping at his drop to third, claiming last. Time was pure luck. Others are asking who this Henry even is. Wang Ho has clearly been lurking, drinking in all the praise, and he fires off a fresh announcement bloated with pride, telling everyone they have just witnessed absolute strength. He boasts that he lucked into a rare blueprint for an evil wolf camp, meaning he can mint wolf cavalry without end. His elite squad has already swelled to 15 riders, and he has also seized an outdoor gold mine, ensuring he will never lack gold again. The evil wolf camp, a gold mine and 15 wolf cavalry. This string of bombshells stops the chat's breath. If the old Wang Ho was just a strong player with promise, now he is taking the rough shape of a regional hegemon. He turns the knife our hero's way, demanding to know why he is silent this time, saying that if he is smart, he will kneel and become his dog, and he might toss him a scrap. Our protagonist closes the channel without expression. Pressure, real pressure. 15 tier 3 wolf cavalry are enough to crush any lord at this stage, and an arrow tower volley would barely scratch them, dealing a minor dozen or 20 damage. He must grow his combat power fast or find a way to counter cavalry. He quickly shakes it off and turns to the rewards, landing for third place 2 white resource chests, a green recruitment order, and a random building blueprint chest appear. 3 beams of light settle into his storage. The green chest he claimed for first place last time still funds his daily spending, so getting third place this time shouldn't be too bad either. He opens the white chests and they give him 700 wood, 250 stone, 80 iron ore, and 90 gold coins. His face darkens. The pair together isn't even half of what that single green chest gave him. The rank gap is absolutely brutal. Still, even a mosquito leg is meat, especially the gold for troop recruiting. He takes out the green recruitment order, which randomly summons between 1 and 10 troops of tier 2 to tier 4. The white order gave him 8 militia last time, so the green one should at least cough up a tier 3 soldier, even if fewer of them. He rubs his hands and uses it. Green light bursts before the mansion, and as it scatters, 7 strange figures stand on the open ground, upright, human-like, tall and sheathed in tough green scales, featuring lizard heads, simple longbows resting on their backs, and those golden slit pupils sharp with weariness. The system identifies them as lizard man archers. Tier 2 with 90 health, 14 strength, and the precise shot skill, superb hunters of the swamps born to the bow. 7 tier 2 troops, just as luck, he sighs, holding his forehead. The lower limit again. Wang Ho opens with wolf cavalry, and his draws come up black as the bottom of a pot. Still, it is better than nothing. The 7 archers patch the gap. He now has a mobile ranged force, since Noong's Icethorn has way too long a cooldown and drains far too much mana to rely on for regular output. These 7 new summons give him real flexibility. They plant their bows and drop to one knee, answering his call with strange hoarse hisses. Satisfied, he nods and pulls up Snow Song's panel. That massive battle pushed her to level 3. Her stats are leaping in a way his basic militia never could, since they only crawl up a single point per level, as if they barely leveled. But heroes have massive growth. He can see which assets are actually worth holding. Next is the random building chest. The last one gave him a useless farmhouse. This one is locked until the mansion upgrade. This time he needs something that actually matters. Recruitment building, ideally. Clasping his hands, he quickly offers a prayer to the gods of every direction and pops it open. A mushroom house blueprint. His heart tightens as he reads the details. A dark, damp cave full of strange mushrooms, the favorite home of cave dwellers, yielding a weekly recruitment pool that scales up with its level. 800 wood, 1200 stone, 50 rotten clay, 10 hours. Cave dwellers. Instantly, the iron mine in the western forest flashes through his mind, guarded by those exact creatures. A wild idea suddenly hits him. Human and cave dweller tongues definitely do not mix, but what about cave dweller to cave dweller? If he builds this mushroom house first, recruits a few of his own and sends them to negotiate with their wild kin in the iron mine, could he persuade them all to surrender without spilling a single drop of blood? The thought is too good to ignore. He can't shake it. Storming the mine, even if successful, means massive casualties. But if negotiation works, he secures the mine unharmed and gains free cave dweller troops. Talk about an absolute jackpot. Sure, there is serious risk. The two factions might just start fighting on the spot, ruining the entire plan. But the payoff is absolutely massive, totally worth the gamble. The only catch is that new material. Rotten clay. He opens his map, combing through every landmark Snow Song marked until his eyes land on a swampy patch to the northwest. There has to be clay in a swamp. He decides right then to lead an expedition team out at first light tomorrow. The morning sun is barely breaking over the mansion as he walks to the entrance and surveys his heavily damaged territory. The massive breach in his wall leaves the outer fence completely shattered. Two arrow towers are swaying on the very brink of collapse. He orders immediate repairs, and the waiting peasants rush forward with tools and wood. He tells them to replace the triggered hunting traps, craft 20 more, and completely cover the area near the breach. Next, he preps his squad for the day's expedition. He takes Snow Song and 2 healthy militia, mobilizing his entire remaining skeleton force, plus the new lizard men will get their first taste of battle. Finally, he drafts 20 peasants. Their target is that northwestern swamp to gather rotten clay for his mushroom house. The expedition assembles quickly and marches out in a long column. The journey is so incredibly quiet they do not even startle a single rabbit. After an hour, a foul stench of rotting mud hits them, and a massive gloomy swamp stretches out before them. Bizarre water plants float along the dark green water. Bubbles occasionally pop on the surface. This has to be the place, he thinks. Pinching his nose in absolute disgust, he points his peasants toward a patch of dark mud at the edge to begin digging. The system immediately flags it. His peasants collect one piece of rotten clay every 3 minutes. All 20 peasants get to work with their wooden shovels while he posts his soldiers in a defensive ring to keep watch. He sits on a dry stone to watch the progress bar with sheer boredom. Then, a scout wolf trots back and yips softly to Snow Song, who immediately reports movement in the north. He rises quickly and follows the beast, crouching low behind a small dirt mound. 100 meters away, 4 goblins slink past, and trailing behind them is a solitary human in plain linen, clutching a short sword and scanning his surroundings warily. Are those goblins that man's troops? Is he the rival lord from the north? The thought flickers. Swampy wasteland, a man arriving from the north. As he watches, the other lord feels it. 2, his head snapping up as their gazes lock across the 100-meter gap. He holds completely still, calm, curious to see how his new neighbor will react. Seconds later, the rival lord does something unexpected, raising a hand to wave toward his hidden position, a friendly greeting or a silent taunt. It is hard to tell. He signals his goblins, turns, and vanishes into the distant trees without hesitation. Interesting, the lord thinks, standing up from behind the dirt mound. No active hostility, which is good news, though his caution remains. He orders Snow Song to keep her wolves watching the north closely, and she nods. The digging resumes. As for that northern lord, as long as he stays out of the way, there is no need to strike yet. Another half-hour passes, and 50 units of rotten clay are finally gathered. He waves his team to wrap up and head back, leading the heavily loaded crew home. Along the way home, the wolf finds something else, growling at a small clearing, making him halt. The party to investigate. 7 or 8 earthy yellow creatures resembling lumps of mud slowly rise in the open. He inspects them. Mud slimes, Tier 1, Health 105. Strength 4, Agility 3. Low-grade earth element beasts that crawl slower and dirt but endure forever. With Agility 3, he nearly laughs aloud. Slower than a crawling turtle, but their 105 health and 21 stamina put them near Tier 2. Goblins for bulk, a perfect target dummy. His eyes shift over to his 7 lizardmen. Archers, he points at the slimes, ordering the 7 of them to handle it, to keep their distance and just fire. The lizardmen nod, seeming to catch his meaning, forming a loose line before walking 50 meters out, which is more than enough. Range for the archers. Bowstrings sing in rapid succession, 7 arrows slicing the to bury themselves in the mud bodies with dull thuds. Damage numbers float up in the 30s, barely worse than a defensive tower and far faster. The mud slimes finally react, slowly grinding toward the lizardmen at a pace that has him yawning. The archers knock, draw, and loose in a fluid rhythm, volley after volley, making the entire scene feel comedic. 7 archers rain fire while 8 slow-moving tanks die on a charge that never touches them in under a minute. Every mud slime becomes a lifeless heap of muck. This is not a battle, but sheer bullying. The system grants him a gray chest, and he kicks the mud aside to open. 200 stone and 10 iron ore, better than nothing, he sighs. Target. Practice for his archers, at least. They reach home by afternoon, finding the wall and fence already fully repaired. 20 fresh hunting traps gleam coldly at key junctions. Taking no rest, he opens his construction list, locking onto the new blueprint: the mushroom house, 800 wood, 1200 stone, and 50 rotten clay. He confirms the build, causing a cave silhouette to rise from a corner of his territory. Peasants swarm the construction site with clanging tools as a 10-hour countdown opens in his view. He stares at the growing progress bar with quiet anticipation, his mind already on the iron. To the west lies the iron mine, where the wild cave dwellers nest. One night passes. Deep in a corner of his territory, a strange new structure finally stands completed. It is a massive mound of earth, half-sunk, slick, and covered in green moss. Glowing mushrooms ring the dark entrance. He approaches this new mushroom house. Placing his palm against the wet stone beside the opening, the level 1 stats appear. It recruits 7 to 14 Tier 1 cave dwellers weekly, upgradable with a level 3 mansion. This week's recruits are already available. The overall potential is actually pretty good. Nodding, he opens the recruitment screen. 10 cave dwellers are available at 12 gold each. That is 12 gold apiece, 50% pricier than skeletons, but with better stats. They boast 45 health, 8 strength, 9 constitution, and complete blindness immunity. With the iron mine in his sights, this gold simply has to be spent. He is here to negotiate, not fight, but successful negotiation always relies on absolute strength. Sending a lone cave dweller envoy to ask 30 wild brethren to surrender would end badly. They would just beat him to paste. He needs serious backing force for his words. The message must be incredibly simple: surrender or die. Next, he checks his funds. Only 104 gold. Talk about a tight budget, so he gambles. Gritting his teeth, he selects 8. The system charges 96 gold for the purchase. He confirms, watching his balance drop to a pitiful 8 gold. The mushroom house waits. Its entrance remains dark and silent. Just as he worries the system has frozen, movement begins. 8 bulky green figures shuffle out, holding crude short spears and glancing around. They look around blankly before turning toward him, planting their spears in a salute. Sure, they are pretty ugly, but they are his troops now. He waves grandly to deploy. He commands Snoung, her wolves, the militia, skeletons, and lizardmen archers to assemble. They join the 8 cave dwellers, alongside 20 tool-bearing peasants ready to march out. The massive marching column slowly comes together, over 50 individual units in total. There is Snoung with 6 wolves, 6 militia, 6 skeletons, and 7 lizardmen. With 8 cave dwellers and 20 peasants, this force looks incredibly grand. Any outsider would think he is marching to war against another lord. They head west. Arriving at the iron mine forest, they do not sneak. He orders peasants to make noise. They pull out their heavy tools and hammer up an incredibly loud, deliberate racket. The sudden din instantly alerts the wild cave dwellers guarding the mine mouth. Gray heads swing toward the noise, growling deeply in threat. He halts the main force 200 meters out, lining up his combat units. Archers stand behind the frontline militia, with wolves flanking and 20 peasants at the rear. This dark, silent mass exudes an incredibly heavy pressure. Then he moves. He sends 2 of his newly recruited cave dwellers forward to relay the terms. They must surrender their weapons, vacate the mine, and join his growing territory. The 2 messengers stand stunned, trade a quick glance, then trundle toward the entrance. As they waddle forward on short legs, a system notice pops up before him. It detects his attempt to persuade the wild cave dwellers to surrender. The system measures their friendliness, spanning from hostile to neutral or friendly. It measures their friendliness level, ranking it as surprisingly friendly. Next, the system runs the surrender judgment and declares it a total success. The tribe has officially agreed to surrender. He stares at the notification, utterly stunned. It worked just like that, friendly. Since when does he have such a gentle face? Overnight, or has his kingly aura climbed so high, it converts wild monsters from hundreds of meters off? The 2 cave dwellers he sent are not even halfway. There, suddenly, commotion stirs. A figure larger than a regular cave dweller walks out. His green skin is shot through with magma-red patterns. His 2 messengers reach it, chattering quickly. A moment later, the red monster leads the entire tribe out, weapons set down. All of them shuffle toward His position, the two spokesmen run back, pointing at their red leader, chattering. Again, he cannot understand a word, but the system kindly translates, relaying. That cave-dweller Chief Stonehammer wants to lead his whole tribe to pledge allegiance, asking for protection. The system adds a crucial detail. Units that defect have their loyalty permanently fixed at the level of adoration. They will never betray him. This dispels his doubts. He looks the red cave dweller over, a hell caveman, tier 2, health is 105. Strength 21, immune to blindness, an elite mutated by absorbing a little. Subterranean fire, strong in body and arm, a tier 2 elite. There is more than one. Of them, their numbers are slightly below the tier 2 goblins, but tier 2 all the same. A wave of fear passes through him. Had they actually fought with his thin resources, victory was a question. Lucky break for him, right? This persuasion is a massive profit. He clears his throat, acting deep and serious, and accepts their allegiance. Then, to be safe, he takes Snow Song from the militia as a guard, stepping cautiously into the iron mine. The system congratulates him. Small iron mine occupied, and get this, because he is first to claim an iron resource, he receives a bonus blueprint. The mine holds a reserve of 3,000, 1 ore per miner daily, capped at 20 units. The furnace smelts unrefined ore. It costs 1,000 stone and 10 iron. Ore with 5 assigned miners smelting up to 20 units daily. Full output means 20 miners digging and 5 smelting, 25 workers total, 5 huts. And 1 furnace will yield 20 iron ore daily, a crucial resource, he thinks. Orders them to start work. 20 peasants pick their spots near the entrance and begin raising miners' huts and the furnace. Next, he patrols the perimeter to sketch defenses. 4 arrow towers will guard the walls. Around the outside with animal traps scattered through. That done, he walks out to inspect his new troops. 33 regular cave dwellers, 3 tier 2. Hell cavemen, 36 units total, more than double the goblins at the White Crystal Mine. Time to assign garrisons, he thinks, stroking his chin. Both mines need manpower. He leaves 8 tier 1 cave dwellers here, sends 8 more to the White Crystal Mine, swapping the 2 militia back. He now plans to raise another tower or 2 next visit. Any lord eyeing them must count the cost. Cave dwellers naturally live in caves. They are the perfect guards. He counts the army at his command, and ambition surges. 36 cave dwellers, 3 of them tier 2 elites. His ground force has more than doubled in a single stroke. Looking over his remaining forces, he feels a level of confidence he has never experienced before. Time to clear out the local trash. He opens the goblin map. Staring at red charcoal circles, tier 1 camp Snow Song scouted the targets. He once backed down from a lack of strength. Now he wants everything, waving his imposing column forward. First up is a small wild boar camp east of the territory, where 3 tier 1 boars root in the woods. Before, he would have had to kite them carefully with Snow Song's icethorn, but not today. He orders the cave dwellers and militia to form a front line, sending wolves to harass their hind legs from the flanks while the lizardmen fire freely. The shield wall of cave dwellers and militia advances like a moving rampart. The 3 boars red their eyes and charge head first. Tusks slam into the cave dwellers, the raw impact knocking some over, but in that brief, stalled moment, 6 wolves dive toward the vulnerable hind legs while 7 lizardmen bury arrows into eyes and necks. Snow Song does not even bother, simply standing aside to watch with her staff. In under 30 seconds, the 3 boars are bloody corpses. His only cost is a couple of cave dwellers knocked over, light scratches, negligible. He moves them to the next target, a 7-unit goblin camp that goes down with 0 suspense. The greenskins are cut down by lizardmen arrows and militia spears before they can even form a line, with the system handing him a gray chest. He keeps going, sweeping the camps around his territory like an autumn wind stripping leaves. Every red marker crumbles the very instant his mixed army arrives. Before long, he cannot be bothered to command them directly and hands control over to Snow Song, who drifts at the back while he slacks off. The hostile markers quickly dwindle down until they are nearly gone, leaving only the final one. He sets up camp deeper in the swamp. He saved for last. Snow Song's report marked this as the largest camp, with a single tier 2 elite lurking inside. The army reaches an open, shallow pond dotted with green duckweed, where over 10 blue water jelly creatures hop and play. Across the surface, 1 giant, darker slime sprawls lazily right. The center, the system identifies the small ones as tier 1 water droplet slimes. And the big one is a Tier 2 water accumulation slime with 170 health, possessing water healing and split. It is an evolved slime with minor healing and a strange splitting ability. Slimes again, he mutters, one of the three great plagues of the starting village, just as common as goblins and boars, though slow and weak-hitting, making them easy to handle. He calls for battle stations, shedding his contempt because even a lion must strike a rabbit with full force. He puts the cave dwellers and militia up front, ordering the lizardmen to ready a volley on the leader. He tells Snow Song to prep an ice thorn to test if it freezes. The army deploys slowly and grimly toward the pond. The slimes notice them, breaking off their play to cluster around the Tier 2 leader. Their bodies ripple, plopping out warning noises. He is just about to order a general attack when something bizarre happens. The largest water accumulation slime hops out from the crowd, showing zero hostility at all. It simply stops before his army, swaying its body up and down as if bowing, totally stunned. What trick is this? Surrendering because it cannot win. Then a system notification makes his jaw drop, detecting the wild water accumulation slime trying to surrender. It checks the affinity, finds it friendly, processes the judgment, and declares success. The slime clan has surrendered. His jaw drops, staying wide open for a long while. What is going on here? At least with the cave dwellers, he sent a negotiator over to intimidate and entice them, but this time he barely arrays his forces before the enemy leader slides to its knees, displaying an initial friendly affinity on top. Could he really have a kingly aura, he wonders, touching his face, completely baffled. Is it because he is too handsome? He drops his doubts and accepts them. Killing these slimes nets little loot, but accepting them means over a dozen free troops. They crawl and hit softly but carry massive health. They are perfect meat shields just sitting there. And that Tier 2 leader lists water healing and split, a healing factory. This deal cannot lose. He nods at the water accumulation slime, telling it he accepts its surrender. Right away, the creature bounces on the spot, an absolute delight, its body briefly squishing into a heart shape before turning to plop towards its companions in the pond. The system suddenly reports 1 water accumulation slime and 14 water droplet slimes have joined his territory, their loyalty fixed forever at adoration, with 15 new units on his panel. He is grinning so wide his mouth will not close. He clicks on the Tier 2 split details, a passive that periodically buds off new water droplet slimes when resting in a water-rich environment. The interval is wildly unstable, swayed by surroundings, but his eyes light up completely. This walks around and costs nothing. The split timing is erratic, but having it beats nothing, meaning that keeping this thing near water yields a steady stream of free Tier 1 meat shields. Talk about an absolute massive profit. He gazes at the bouncy blue jellies with the fondest eyes. No monsters at all, just a pack of adorable mobile resource packs. He pats the slime's cool, slick body, telling them they follow him now, promising they will live well. The slime sways contentedly right under his hand. He waves his army to disperse, heading home with high spirits as he leads his new slime legion back. This sweep cleared all surrounding forces. His total strength surged to an astonishing height as morning brightens. He stretches and walks out of the mansion refreshed, still floating after yesterday's clean sweep and those surprise recruits. The dozen odd water droplet slimes are bumping aimlessly into one another in a corner while the big one lies sluggishly. This will not do. His forces cannot sit idle. He summons some peasants, telling them to dig a big pit over there and fill it with water, a proper home, his command being absolute. They shoulder their tools and set to work. As he finishes ranging the slime lodging, a system notice flashes. The refugee camp has refreshed, offering brand new units. A new week begins and his spirits lift as he heads for the tattered tent. Last time gave skeletons, fragile but serviceable, but this time he wants something stronger. Opening the recruitment screen, his smile instantly freezes. A butterfly sprite, Tier 1, 10 available at 8 gold each. Checking the details, health is 20 and strength 4. With 13 agility, it is a small creature that loves nectar and sunshine. It can fly naturally but is extremely frail. He falls into deep silence. 20 health is 5 under a skeleton, ranked below those fragile bones. This thing is paper thin, its damage dismal, and it cannot even tank. The absolute bright spot is that it flies with an agility of 13. It is his first flying unit, and having an air force is incredibly strategic. It is perfect for scouting, harassment, and bypassing defenses. The potential is massive, but a look at the price stops him. He looks at the mere 8 gold coins left in his panel. Buying just one sprite makes it almost useless on the battlefield. But skipping it means potentially losing a rare unit forever. Gritting his teeth, he finally decides to buy the creature. It can serve as a cute mascot and handle basic mobile surveillance. He spends his last 8 gold, dropping his balance to 0. A soft golden light glows as a tiny creature leaves the tent. The meter-tall sprite flutters out on clear butterfly wings. It has cute brown spots, blonde hair, and a strange weapon. The blade is somewhere between a dagger and a short sword. It circles his head before landing to study its new master. The little thing is adorable, so its job is just to look cute. While he wonders how to afford more sprites, a soldier rushes over. The guard reports that his neighbor from the east has returned. He is surprised to hear that Gang Jin is back already. He tells the guard to have the neighbor wait at their usual spot. Taking Snow Song and 2 Hell Cavemen as protection, he leaves. The massive cavemen flanking him look incredibly tall and dangerous. With magma red skin and heavy stone spears, they mean business. Gang Jin remains perfectly calm and shows absolutely no fear. His own troops have been Tier 2 from the very start. He notes that the village has grown stronger in just a few days. There is genuine emotion in his voice, but he shrugs it off. He says it is nothing, then asks why he came. Gang Jin gets straight to the point about a big business deal. When asked how big of a deal, the neighbor's face turns serious. He explains that right near the midpoint of their lands, there is something. He found a gold mine, and the news shocks the chief. He was literally just stressing over money, and now this happens. But Gang Jin immediately pours very cold water on his sudden excitement. The mine is already heavily guarded by a clan of dwarves. They are extremely powerful, and even the guards are Tier 2. Worse still, their main leader is a Tier 3 dwarf king. A Tier 3 monster makes him frown, as his own troops are weaker. He has never fought a Tier 3 enemy head-on in his life. Gang Jin admits his own scouting party could not even get close. It is clear he cannot handle this massive challenge alone. So he directly asks what his own share of the gold will be. Gang Jin offers an even 50-50 split, a tempting offer. He even promises to supply all the required building materials. He will build the mining huts, the smelting furnace, and everything else. He would manage nothing, only bring troops and fight alongside him to take the mine. And every afternoon, he would send his share of the gold down this little stream. The terms dripped sincerity, covering nearly all of the upfront costs, and he needed only to join one battle to reap a daily income, meaning the Dwarf King had truly terrified his ally. He ran the math quickly. The risk was real, a Tier 3. Dwarf King was no easy mark. Casualties were guaranteed, and Gang Jin might play tricks mid-fight, spending his men as fodder or turning on him after the win. But the reward was just as massive, a mine securing him an endless supply of gold, funding those 10 butterfly sprites and even stronger troops to come. As for betrayal, he glanced at the 2 silent, mountainous hell cavemen at his back. He thought of the slimes, skeletons, and lizard men at home, deciding he was strong and well-stocked enough now that any trickery did not frighten him. He told Gang Jin the offer was tempting, but asked how he could trust him not to burn the bridge once they crossed it. Gang Jin's gaze sharpened, explaining it was because they shared a common enemy. He explained that Wango's wolf cavalry had grown to 15 riders, and the gold mine was in his hands too, the regional enemy number 1. If the 2 of them fought now, they would only make Wango laugh, so uniting was their only way out. The words landed next to the arrogant, foolish Wango. Cool and clever man like Gang Jin was plainly the better temporary ally. He told him he agreed, but held up a finger to add one final condition. In the battle, each man's troops answered only to their own master. They would coordinate, but neither would order the other's men into the meat grinder, and a victory meant an even split of the spoils. Gang Jin agreed readily, calling it fair. With everything settled, he told him they would meet there tomorrow at sunrise to greet the shorties. Gang Jin nodded to the deal, then turned and left with his centaur. He watched him go before heading back, already planning the battle against the Dwarf King in his head, a Tier 3 boss. This was the perfect chance to test the mettle of his melee crew. Dawn broke the next day, and he yawned his way over to the new water pit where the Tier 2 water Accumulation slime soaked in comfort, body rippling. He named it Three Waters on. A whim, and Three Waters shook itself, spitting out a small water ball with a soft pop almost like an answer. He looked at it, then at the dozen smaller water droplet slimes beside it, realizing its slow speed would make it arrive long after the main force. He ordered Three Waters to take its children and set out immediately, heading east along the path they took so they could catch up later. Three Waters shook and started its long expedition, with the little ones hopping and skipping in line. With the painfully slow slime legion sent ahead, he turned to assemble his main force. Neither mine's defenses could slack, so the original 16 Tier 1 cave dwellers stayed behind to garrison them, well suited to cave life. He ordered everyone else to assemble, and a massive melee army gathered before the mansion. 25 Tier 1 cave dwellers, 3 Crimson Hell cavemen, 8 seasoned militia, and 7 silent lizardmen archers, with Snowung standing at the front alongside 7 spirited wolves. His gaze swept over them, landing on the 6 skeletons standing still in the corner. They had worked hard enough, he thought with a tired breath, between the Crimson Moon and the past few days of fighting. Half of those 12 fragile skeletons were gone. He decided at last to leave them home to guard the gate, telling them he would not. He refuses to deploy them unless necessary, leaving the last 6 for city defense as reserves. Then he looks up at the butterfly sprite fluttering above and tells the little creature to act as a simple aerial mascot. With all arrangements complete, he waves his grand army out. The troops march east toward the small creek, and after about half an hour, they catch up to the slime legion still hopping along the road. He cannot help but smile slightly as he gathers them into the center of the formation to push onward. They reach the agreed creek before Gangjin, so he is in no rush, letting the troops rest, drink, and recover their stamina. Soon, the heavy, thunderous drumming of countless hooves rolls straight out of the eastern woods, and Gangjin appears at the tree line with an army that makes him look twice. 8 Tier 2 Centaur spearmen take the lead, looking as imposing as ever. 6 longbow centaurs follow, act as ranged support. The system tags them as Tier 2 centaur archers. On the flanks stand 4 short units holding slings, curious as they eye his cave dwellers and the slimes. These are Tier 1 halfling slingers, but stranger still are the 8-meter-long snow white snakes flickering their tongues near the feet of the halflings. White scale snakes. Tier 1, at the rear, a man in chain mail rides with a gleaming longsword and a resolute expression on his face. Back straight, gaze sharp, he is plainly a hero commander. Gangjin has brought a complete lineup of battle-ready troops, plus a hero to lead them. He counts quickly, 14 Tier 2 units on that side, outnumbering his own. The other lord walks up, apologizing for keeping him waiting, but he answers that he only just arrived, pointing at his impressive ranks and calling it quite the display. Gangjin offers a wry smile, admitting that with dwarves to fight, he simply had no choice but to bring out everything. His eyes sweep across the lines, and when they catch the 3 hell cavemen and that massive, hopping group of slimes, his surprised expression completely shifts as he remarks that his ally is truly hiding his strength. Who wouldn't be shocked by a slime army? Chatter and Gangjin quickly suggest they go scout the situation first. Immediately, the 2 armies merge and advance toward the gold mine, soldiers on both sides sizing each other up along the way, with his slimes and cave dwellers drawing more than a few looks from the centaurs. They halt the main force a few hundred meters from the mine, and Gangjin takes him forward alongside both of their heroes, his own commander and Snowung. As the 4 of them creep close, through the trees, the view opens onto a vast valley, revealing a sturdy fortress of massive stone and logs. Standing at the entrance, the open ground before it bristling with sharpened stakes and barricades, truly prepared. On the walls, dwarves standing just over 1 meter tall are solidly built and heavily bearded, patrolling back and forth in thick leather armor while carrying their heavy battle axes. The system identifies them as Tier 2 dwarf warriors. Among them stand dwarves carrying strange, tube-shaped metal weapons, and his companion quietly lowers his voice to call them dwarf gunners. Their muskets are long-ranged and immensely powerful. Imagine getting hit by one of those. It is basically game over. He scans their stats. Tier 2 dwarf gunners with 120 health, 23 strength, and armor-piercing rounds. These masterpieces of dwarven craft use gunpowder, lending them the courage to stand strong against even dragons. With 30 warriors on the wall and 10 gunners, Gangjin warns that they are all Tier 2, which is not the worst part. points to the tallest watchtower, where a figure stands that is far larger than any regular dwarf. The boss sits on an ornate stone chair, leisurely sipping from a wine goblet, a gem set. Crown rests on its head, a suit of exquisite rune armor covers its body, and a warhammer taller than its own body leans beside it. The system reads it as dwarf. Chieftain Ironbeard Tier 3, Level 10, Health 275, Strength 48 Skills. Heavy strike and sweep, the ruler of this gold mine, his hammer rumored to shatter mountains, a Tier 3 boss, he murmurs. Yes, Gang Jin says grimly that he sent his hero to probe once, and it was knocked flying by a single hammer. Swing barely making it back, and that these dwarves are too intelligent to be lured out, so baiting is useless. Our main character falls silent. This is trickier than he imagined. A solid fortress, musket firepower at range, melee bruisers, and an unfathomable Tier 3 boss. This is no gold mine, it is a military fort, he tells him. No wonder he offered 50-50 and offered to handle all the logistics. That this bone is genuinely tough to chew, that is why they have to join forces, he says, asking whether our hero has any ideas. He does not answer immediately, his gaze sweeping the fortress layout. One main entrance only, the sides sheer mountain cliff that completely rules out any rear sneak attack. Their only path is a frontal assault, and a frontal assault means walking into the concentrated fire of 10 dwarf gunners. He glances over at his own forces, noting both the cave dwellers and the slime slow-moving targets, countless units sure to die on the charge in. He tells him at last that a hard rush is the worst option, and they have to find a way to silence their ranged firepower first. Gang Jin asks how they silence it. Is Centaur archers outranged? A ranged duel would be suicide, but then his eyes fall on the butterfly sprite hovering over his head at the moment, bored and chasing a real butterfly through the air. Perhaps, he says with a grin, he has a way after all. Gang Jin follows his eyes to the butterfly sprite drifting over his head, and the little thing no longer than his forearm flaps its wings and looks back at him. He cannot help frowning and asks whether the main character is joking, whether he really means to pin their hopes on that. Besides flying, the creature looks useless. Its health probably no higher than a wild rabbit's, and sent at the fortress, it would only be a moving target for the dwarves. Our hero tells him not to underestimate. It beckons, and the butterfly sprite drops obediently to land on his shoulder. Then he asks him what he thinks the dwarf muskets fear most. He thinks it over and guesses close combat or maybe heavy damage. Our protagonist tells him no, they run on gunpowder, and gunpowder fears nothing in the world so much as damp. His eyes light up and then immediately dim, because they have no unit in either army that can touch the weather. He tells him that is exactly why they need this little one, and he points at the butterfly sprite on his shoulder. He is not relying on it to fight, he is relying on it to wreck their guns before the battle even starts. He turns and calls 3 water slimes over from behind the troops. The Tier 2 water accumulation slime bounces across and rubs its jelly body against his trouser leg, and he tells it to spit out something slimy. The grosser the better. It shudders, and with a soft pop, it ejects a clump of translucent foul smelling mucus. He takes a lump of rotten clay from his storage space, the muck he dug out of the swamp, and kneads the two into a sticky black ball the size of a fingernail. The thing is so rank that Gang Jin and his his companions step back with open disgust on their faces, but he does not mind one bit. The slime mucus seals out air while the rotten clay holds moisture. When mixed together, they will turn gunpowder, or even dry firewood, into a completely useless wet sludge. He pinches the little black ball and holds it out to the butterfly sprite. It is high time the mascot earned its keep, so he names it on the spot. Little Gold, asking if it sees the crowned shorty at the highest point of the fortress. Little Gold nods its tiny head, and he asks if it sees the cup beside him. It nods again, and he tells it to fly up there without a soul. Noticing, drop this thing into his cup, and above all, avoid being discovered. He lets a wicked smile show. Little Gold takes the clay ball larger than its own fist, cradles it in both small hands, and lifts off a little unsteadily before climbing in silence toward the dwarf fortress. Gang Jin and Nasang watch it go, absolutely dumbfounded, and Gang Jin asks if this can possibly work. He says he will know when he sees it. Little Gold flies high, its silhouette under the glaring sun no bigger than a bird, and the dwarf soldiers on the wall never bother to look up. It circles, finds a clean angle, and lets go. The black clay ball traces an almost invisible arc through the air and lands silently. The magnificent wine cup of the dwarf king, Ironbeard, perfect hit. Little Gold wheels and beats its wings hard, vanishing into the clouds. On the fortress, Ironbeard is idly surveying his domain. He lifts his cup, brings it to his lips out of habit, and takes a deep gulp. The next instant, he spits the whole mouthful out in a spray, mixed with a string of furious dwarf curses, and stares down at the murky, stinking liquid and the black sludge dissolving in it, his beard bristling with rage. He roars, demanding to know who did this, a bellow that shakes the whole valley. He lurches to his feet, his sharp gaze raking the surroundings for the culprit who dared to mock the great King Ironbeard. He finds nothing but a few birds and finally smashes the cup against the ground in a crisp shatter. Out in the woods, Gang Jin and Nasing stand with their mouths hanging wide open in shock, and Gang Jin asks whether it actually worked. He wears the proud smile of a successful plan and asks whether he still thinks the little thing is useless. Gang Jin shakes his head, and the look he turns on him has gone incredibly complicated, the kind that wonders how his brain is wired to keep producing tricks this strange and this effective. He says he understands now that he means to drop the same poison onto the gunner's gunpowder tonight. He confirms it with a snap of his fingers, telling him that once their muskets are dead, the rest of the dwarves are just slow targets on legs. Gang Jin praises the brilliant plan and asks what they do now. He tells him they wait, finding a flat rock to sit on. They wait for dark. The wait runs long, with both armies resting in their own quarters, kept clearly apart. Night finally falls, faint specks of torchlight blooming across the valley and lighting the dwarf fortress bright. The dwarves on the wall change shifts and watch the dark with care. He whispers to Little Gold on his shoulder that the operation begins. The cave dwellers have already shaped dozens of fist-sized clay bombs, and Little Gold can carry only one at a time, yet it makes no complaint, taking a bomb and lifting into the pitch-black sky with the darkness as its best. Wearing a perfect disguise, it glides above the fortress, staying well clear of the torchlight. It looks down on the whole compound, noting the gunners do not keep their muskets. Instead, they rack the weapons neatly by the wall, hanging their powder bags nearby. Little Gold spots its first target, dropping low like a ghost directly over the powder bag, then releases. The clay bomb falls free and bursts right across his target. Sticky clay and mucus smear over every single inch, with some of muck even seeping in through the opening. A dozing dwarf nearby suddenly twitches an ear as if he heard something, opens his eyes, sees nothing, and goes back to sleep. With that, Little Gold flies straight back to him for another bomb. Once, twice, 3 times. The tireless little fellow is the busiest helper of the night, ferrying back and forth between the forest and fortress like a machine running a precise program, delivering his custom wrecking charges onto every last gunner's powder bag. Gang Jin and Nassim watch in pure awe, barely even breathing. Talk about an absolute masterclass. They are seeing firsthand how the weakest, most overlooked unit can dismantle the proudest defense of a sturdy fortress in an unbelievable way. By the time Little Gold completes its 10th run and lands tired on his shoulder, the sky carries the first faint gray of dawn. He strokes its head, telling it well done, and digs a wild fruit out of storage from an earlier hunt. It hugs the fruit happily, nibbling away. Then he stands and tells all units to prepare, his voice low but carrying across the team. Gang Jin gives the order at once, his centaurs assembling fast with low whinnies as morning mist seeps through the valley. He lays out the plan in a few sharp lines. His slimes and cave dwellers advance head-on to draw the fire. His centaur spearmen stand ready to charge from the flanks, and every ranged unit, his lizard men and centaur archers alike, wait for his command to focus everything on the Dwarf King. Gang Jin answers that he understands. He gives the order. The army, barely able to contain itself, lets out an earth-shaking cry and pours toward the fortress. His bouncy slimes lead the way, forming a moving blue wall of flesh. The alarm on the wall shrieks instantly, the cry of enemy attack rising as the sleepy dwarves scramble to their posts. 10 gunners reach the wall first to snatch up their muskets and powder. They see the dense enemy tide surging up from the valley floor and grin cruel grins, one of them taunting the long-legged monsters to come taste his might as he loads, raises, and aims at a slime in the front rank. He pulls the trigger, a crisp click, but no roar, no flash of fire. He freezes, checks his weapon, and tries again. Another click, only the dry sound of a mechanism misfiring. He shouts in confusion that something is wrong with his gun. Another gunner cries that his weapon too is dead, and a third tears open his powder bag, finding wet Black sludge cursing that his powder is completely soaked. Up on the wall, the 10 gunners dissolve into chaos, their proud weapons turned overnight into 10 useless iron pokers, and down in the valley, the Allied forces have already crossed the open ground and reached the foot of the fortress. On the wall, the dwarves descend into full panic, one bellowing that his powder has turned to mush mud, while another spits that the slime reeks of rotten swamp moss, and a third roars at the rest to drop their muskets, take up axes, and chop these things to pieces. They throw down their useless weapons, grab the battle axes at their waists, and start hurling spare stones and short-throwing axes down at the base of the wall. The heavy stones and axes smash into the slime horde, but they only sink in with dull thuds. The water droplet slimes dent deep from the impacts before wobbling back into shape. These things are the absolute perfect meat shields, he thinks, nodding at his bouncing blue troops with satisfaction. Gangjin and the commander shout the same order in unison. Ranged units, suppress the wall. The lizardmen archers and centaur archers loose their arrows together, sending them crisscrossing toward the parapet, forcing several dwarves who poke their heads out to duck their thrown weapons back down. Nasyang levels his long sword and sends the centaur spearmen forward, their hooves thundering as they break into a charge, while his own side refuses to be outdone. He sends the cave dwellers in to smash the gate, and the 3 Crimson Hell cavemen with over 20 regular cave dwellers behind them roar in their broken voices and surge forward, brandishing crude stone spears and stone axes. 2 completely different combat styles reach the same result. Gangjin's centaur spearmen move in perfect unison, under Nasyang's command, driving their long spears precisely into the gate's hinges to pry the entire structure apart, while his cave dwellers simply hammer the wooden gate flat with blunt, brutal force. The sturdy stone and timber gate groans under the assault until it cannot hold. With a heavy crash, a breach is forced open. Seeing the gate lost, the dwarves on the wall roar and pour down the side stairs to plug the gap. He orders his 8 militia to form a quick line and thrust their spears through the openings the cave dwellers have torn, and Gangjin's halfling slingers find their range, whirling their slings to send fist-sized stones whistling into the heads of the charging dwarves, leaving them reeling. The battlefield drops at once into the most brutal close-quarters fighting, with the narrow fortress mouth packing both sides tight against each other. His cave dwellers hold the very front with fearless tenacity, while the better-armed, stronger dwarves open deep, bone-deep wounds on them with every axe swing. He calls for Snow Song to lock the line with ice thorns, and she sweeps her staff, streaks of ice shooting into the densest knots of dwarves, frost crawling up their feet and stalling them just long enough for the spears around them to find their marks. Her 7 wolves and Gangjin's 8 slippery white scale snakes slide in from the edges, biting at dwarf ankles and backs, sowing chaos wherever they go. For a moment the battle deadlocks, then a deafening roar rolls down from the highest watchtower. Ironbeard hurls his empty goblet aside and rises from his throne, glaring at the mess of a battlefield below. So furious, his beard trembles as he bellows at his own troops to get out of his way. He seizes the giant battle hammer beside him, leaps, and drops his massive body straight off a watchtower over 10 meters high. He lands, and the whole ground shakes. An invisible wave of energy blasts outward, knocking the nearest cave dwellers and water droplet slimes sprawling, rolling them away several times before they finally stop. His eyes go crimson, his hammer flares with an earthy yellow glow as he sweeps it toward the troops. The commander roars for them to scatter, but it is already too late. The hammer whistles past, trailing a string of terrible damage numbers, and those units turn into white light before they can even scream. His chest tightens. 2 regular cave dwellers are gone in an instant. This is the raw strength of a Tier 3 boss. Genjin's face turns grim too. His centaurs dodge quickly, but 1 white scale snake is caught in the energy wave and wiped out instantly. The leaders give the same command again. Every ranged unit must focus fire on the Dwarf King. The heroes and Tier 2 troops must close in and hold him down. The dwarves on the wall are no longer the threat. The berserk Ironbeard is the main target. Nasong roars for glory and spurs his warhorse, which rears on its hind legs. He points his long sword at Ironbeard and leads the charge. His centaur spearmen fold in behind him, forming a sharp arrowhead aimed at the king's flank. The 3 Hell cavemen refuse to be left out, their massive bodies erupting with shocking power as They barrel in from another angle. Snow Song's staff lights up again, and this time she chants several seconds longer, an ice spear far thicker than before. Forms in the air and drives for the king's knee with bone-deep cold. It cracks against his rune armor and shatters into crystals, leaving only a thin film of frost on his leg, low damage but a clean, slowing effect, and Nasong seizes the opening, drawing a bright silver arc and cleaving down at the wrist holding the hammer. Sparks fly off the impact, Iron Beard roaring in pain as he swings the hammer back at him, but the seasoned hero hauls his reins and his horse leaps nimbly clear, the hammer cratering the earth where he had just been. On the other side, the three Hell cavemen close in, their stone spears and axes hammer fearlessly at his back and legs. Then he turns and spins his hammer into a whirlwind, catching one of them flat and flinging its massive body backward into a deep crater, half its health gone in one hit. His lizard man archers and Genjin's centaur archers pour every arrow onto the king, but the shafts barely scratch his rune armor. The commander cannot help cursing that this turtle shell is way too hard. A tier 3 boss carries not only explosive attack, but absurd defense. At this rate, the monster will simply grind his troops to death. Genjin shouts for Nasong to use armor break strike, and at the order, a light flashes in the hero's eyes, his long sword sheathes in a faint golden glow. He spurs his horse again and shoots forward like a loose arrow. Man and mount fuse into a streak of gold, aimed dead at the opening on Iron Beard's chest, the gap that shows when he swings his hammer. The king senses danger and tries to bring the hammer back to block, but the slight slow from Snow Song betrays him. Nasong's sword punches clean into the seam of his chest armor. Iron Beard lets out his most agonized roar of the battle yet. The commander's eyes light up and he shouts for Snow Song to go all out. She does not hesitate, raising her staff and burning through her mana. Ice thorn after ice thorn flies into the wound on his chest without pause. He roars at every ranged unit to focus on the wound, then snatches up a fallen dwarf battle axe to hurl it from a distance. The axe spins through the air, though his aim is poor, and strikes his shoulder and bounces harmlessly off. It seems he truly lacks the gift of brute force. Better to stick to micromanagement. The pain drives Ironbeard is driven completely mad, making him abandon all of his defense. The earthy yellow light on his hammer surges violently as he announces that everyone in this place will die and raises it high before slamming it down. The commander's eyelids twitch and he screams that the boss's ultimate is coming and they must retreat immediately. Nasong and the two surviving Hell cavemen turn and flee without a second thought. The hammer lands, and this time it is no simple wave of energy, centered on the impact. Sharp earthy yellow spikes burst violently from the shattered ground and spread rapidly in every direction. Nasong, running right at the front, reacts the fastest, yanking his reins so his warhorse rears, halting its forward rush and leaping sideways. A few spikes graze the horse's hooves, kicking up dust. The two Hell cavemen are not so lucky, their clumsy bodies being a step too slow, even in their desperate retreat. Spike drives straight through the sole of one caveman's foot and right out of the thigh, pinning him to the ground. An astonishing damage number floats up as the Tier 2 elite's health empties into white light. The other caveman is clipped at the edge, a bone-deep gash opening on his calf as he roars aloud in pain, his movement completely gutted. Two slower cave dwellers are skewered right on the spot, and one unlucky militiaman is tripped flat by spreading spikes, alive but completely useless for the moment. Gang Jin's allies surely know how to play. One centaur spearman and two halfling slingers are caught and skewered together like candied fruit. The funniest of all are his slow slimes. Several of his slow water droplet slimes happen to be wriggling right over the spot when the spikes erupt and the sharp points pierce their jelly bodies only to easily pass through as if stabbing cotton. No fatal damage at all. The slimes wobble their health bars, dropping a little past half, and keep hopping forward as if nothing happened. These things actually resist piercing damage. Gang Jin quickly yells out that the king has finished casting his ultimate, and he must have a major weakness window open now. This is the time the commands pour in. Snow Song must keep slowing him with ice and never let him recover, while the lizard men and centaur archers hammer his wound. Nasong is ordered to charge once more, while everyone else works to tie him down. The combat formation shattered by the ultimate reforms in an instant. Ironbeard now leans on his hammer, chest heaving, the move having plainly cost him dearly. He looks at the bone-deep wound on his chest, then at the enemies surrounding him. His eyes full of absolute madness, and roars before dragging the heavy hammer straight at Nasong, the greatest threat here. The hero advances instead of retreating, calling it some extremely good timing. Flourishing his sword to meet the charge, at that very same moment, the surviving Hell Caveman bites down through the pain, roars and lunges at the king's side, completely abandoning all defense to clamp its jaws tight on his arm. Ironbeard swings the hammer backhand and violently smashes the caveman away, the body tracing a really long arc before crashing to earth. The commander grimaces at the loss, but there is no time to dwell. The caveman's sacrifice has opened a perfect window for Nasong. His longsword flickers into a starlight chain stab, 3 swift sword shadows thrusting out directly at once, all driving precisely into the chest wound as a massive flood of damage numbers. Up the king cries out, his movement pausing as snow song wolves. Meanwhile, Gangjin's slippery white-scale snakes seize their chance and swarm forward, not to deal damage, but to bite hard onto the king's ankles and shins, locking him down completely. But then come the disgusting slimes. 3 Waters leads his squirming minions right to his feet, plastering them onto him. The sticky liquid and rubbery bodies turn each step into a swampy slog. Ironbeard roars at the damn slugs, swinging his hammer to